Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rangers Journal podcast. My name's Scott Mackay. I am your host, and today I've got a very special guest on called Broco Dean. He is the author of the Marcelo Bielsa versus the Damned United / the Premier League, the Leary years, League One Leeds, and the Sons of Revy. He's a presenter on the Leeds Start podcast, and he's here today to talk to us about the 49ers' interest in buying into Rangers.
It's the Rangers Journal night.
Hi Rocco, welcome to Rangers Journal. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem at all. Right, so we'll just get right into it in terms of the 49ers. What was your kind of initial expectations when you heard they were coming into Leeds United?
So when they first invested, it was 2018. So they just bought a minority stake. So that was about 15% in 2018. And Parag Marat actually became a director of the club. So he was vice chairman, I believe. Minority owners. It was investment. At that point, it was before Bielsa even. So Leeds were in a pretty bad way, but sort of starting to wake from their slumber, if you like. They've been obviously many years out of the Premier League, but then they got promoted. No one's really thinking about the 49ers at that stage. They were very small minority, but then in 2021, so like midway through the first Premier League season, they increased their share up to like 37%. So quite a significant owner of the club, and by then it was obvious that the end goal was full takeover. Marat was one of four people on the board. He specialised in contracts. This is what he said at the time. So he was becoming more prominent within the club, and there's interviews with him, and his thing was contracts. His famous line that Leeds fans always take the piss out of him for is that he said that he can do contracts in his sleep, and then obviously it doesn't go very well from there. What involvement the 49ers had is hard to say. I mean, they have basically washed their hands with all the mistakes that Leeds made from that point. So Leeds, with Bielsa in charge, were mid-table that season, and they made a load of terrible mistakes that led to eventual relegation, which is the point when 49ers took over the full control of the club. And at that point, it was all about, we were minority owners, we didn't have a say, but now we're the full owners and, judge us on what we do from now. So obviously I was very, very sceptical at that point. I failed to believe that, Parag Marat wasn't involved in decision making, and the 49ers weren't in some way to blame for what happened to Leeds from Bielsa onwards. But this season, since the takeover, they have done fantastically well, you have to say. On the pitch, they've done great. I mean, the expectation was that they'd take us straight back up. They didn't quite manage it, but any reasonable fan would excuse the playoff defeat. We had a really slow start to the season because there was so much upheaval. Last season we just missed out, and then this season obviously we're doing brilliant, and they've done a lot of very, very sensible decisions. They've bought well, they've changed all the backroom staff, got rid of a lot of the people that perceived to be the problem at Leeds, and now everything's looking rosy on the pitch.
Yeah, good stuff. We were talking off camera. I was telling you that I've got a bit of a soft spot for Leeds myself. Obviously, I can remember back to the Peter Ridsdale era, and Leeds haven't really been in a stable condition off the park since then. I think it's fair to say there's been a lot of owners that have came and went, and a lot of false promises. Is the Leeds support fully behind the 49ers now?
I would say so. I mean, me and probably I'm sure other fans have reservations, and there's things we're not happy about. But I think that's more about general way football's going. Like the Americanization of football over here, in Britain, certainly in the Premier League, with all the clubs basically becoming owned by Americans. Not that Americans, I work for them myself, no problem with them, but, they're here to make money. There's no doubt about that. And like the Leeds CEO, Angus Kinnear, he used to work at Arsenal. And I remember him once saying that Sam Kroenke, the Arsenal owner, like he came to the club and he couldn't believe the difference in the revenue between Arsenal and whatever his franchise is over there. I don't even know, but clearly they're here because they know that they can make a lot more money out of football than current owners and currently clubs are making. So that's the end goal. And at Leeds, you've got we're in the Championship, and the ticket price is basically 47 quid. Is like the cheapest you can get for an adult. I absolutely despise that. Even to have a chance of getting a ticket, you have to be a member, which costs between 50 and 70 quid. So, fans that want to come for the odd game here and there, I mean, they're just not going to do it. So, I hate that, but I think that's just what football is. So I don't think you can probably judge the 49ers past before that. But then again, there are other things like Brad Marath, who's our chairman. He lives in California. How concentrated can he be on Leeds? I mean, he's the president of the 49ers Enterprises as well. So, I'm just not sure that that's the best thing for Leeds. And then if he's also, going to buy into Rangers and be responsible for that, we don't really know at this point, do we, what it'll look like. But I think it's a sign of the way things are going, and I think it's the way the 49ers want to go. The multiple club model, which the City Group obviously have done successfully. So I think that's the way we're going. And personally, I hate that, not just for Leeds, but for all clubs. I think it's terrible. But I don't think there's any fighting against it. So in terms of the football, the 49ers I think are doing well. So really, overall, you'd have to give a bit of a positive appraisal of the work they've done as the full owners of the club.
There's a few points in there that's quite interesting. Obviously, you speak about the multi-chain clubs. I think you're right. That is the way football's going. I think everybody just needs to get on board. Do you think that if the deal's looking as if it's going to go through with the Rangers, it looks as if it's just a case of crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I don't know how far down the line that is, but I know that our majority shareholder Dave King, he's wanted to sell his shares for years. There is a bit of a sleeping giant when it comes to Rangers commercially, I would say. They do need woken up in that sense. It's a big massive fan base there. There's a lot of, if it's invested in right, then you could be onto something really, really good, a club that's in European football every year. See, in terms of the list though, where would you think that the clubs would match up against each other if it is a kind of a partnership? Because I think it's the only kind of maybe the sticking points between the two fan bases, isn't it? Rangers fans believe we should be top, but personally my opinion is it would probably need to be Leeds due to not only the size of the club but where they play their football.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm old enough to have remembered the Battle of Britain in '92. That was like my first season ticket. So I've seen Rangers when they were, one of the best teams in Europe. Whether they can get to that height now, I don't know. But, the way you talk, definitely right. And so when the 49ers first came in, like I was skeptical. I'm always skeptical. And I was sort of suggesting that maybe, they just came in to get a Premier League team on their books, just to make 49ers Enterprises portfolio look better to, other investors. We have this club, Leeds United, which at the time was a Premier League club, and hopefully it will be again soon. And then, mentioning that, well, now they would be able to say they've got a Champions League club because, for Leeds to get in the Champions League, I know Aston Villa have done it. They've done unbelievably well. And obviously like Forest are doing great, and like Brighton, it's possible to get into Europe and to do well in the Premier League, but it's just so hard. And for, Rangers, I think it sounds like a really smart move from the 49ers to have a team that's, basically, pretty much guaranteed. I'm not sure how the qualification situation goes at the moment, but yeah, to have a chance of a Champions League club on your books, and like you say, like a lot of potential at Rangers, just like there is at Leeds, and they've done really good stuff off the field in terms of like the brand development, getting extra investment into the club, like getting us, partnerships with Adidas and obviously Red Bull, all the sort of stuff that I hate, but it's bringing money into the club and it's making Leeds healthier. So yeah, I guess they would do the same with Rangers, and I'm sure they would do a really good job. But I didn't answer your question whatsoever, did I? I don't know. I've no idea who would be who would be the number one. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have to be.
No, for me there needs to be an element of a working relationship there. Like it's not a case if when Leeds are in the Premier League, they're going to have players that aren't playing, and Rangers are playing at a low level domestically, and there will be loan deals and stuff made up. And if Rangers have got any, like we've got Hamza Agaman just now, who is pulling up trees at points. It looks a very, very special talent. So I think it would be a case of there would be deals done for both sides. I wanted to ask you about Red Bull. What's their involvement in Leeds just now? Because there's been a lot of rumours about them potentially taking Leeds over. I know they're a sponsorship just now. I know the fan base wasn't happy about that when it came through. Do you know what exactly their involvement is?
I mean, at the moment, they're just sponsors. So that, like you say, there's been a lot of talk. But yeah, I mean, all they've said so far is that it's not in the pipeline that Red Bull will take over Leeds. But yeah, all the signs seem to point in that direction. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I don't really know, to be honest.
That's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. What's the feeling like within the Leeds support with this news that the 49ers could be buying into Rangers?
I think there's a bit of trepidation, really. I don't think. I think similar to what I said earlier in terms of, not having the full focus on Leeds. It's just it's an extra distraction. So I can't imagine any Leeds fan would be particularly happy about it. Like you say, it brings up that question in terms of, what's going to be their main focus. And if Rangers start doing really well and like going on, getting deep in the Champions League at a time when Leeds are just trying to, make their way in the Premier League, hopefully, then there's going to be a lot of questions about it. So, I wouldn't understand why anyone would particularly think it's a great idea at this stage. Yes, I don't know. I just can't see Rangers being a feeder club to Leeds. I think even if Rangers have top players that want to move to the Premier League, whether they choose Leeds or not, I mean, it's ultimately always going to be down to the player, isn't it? So I don't know. I'm just not sure how it would really benefit Leeds. It just seems like a distraction more than anything.
We're not. I think a general selling point for players coming to Rangers is we can be a pathway to the Premier League. So I also think that would benefit Rangers getting we're trying to catch, like Hamza Agaman, for example. We caught him out of the middle of nowhere playing in Morocco. We're having to get players at that kind of at that stage before they move on to the likes of Denmark, Holland, or these kind of Austria before they get the big moves elsewhere. So that's where we are. So I think there'll be a certain amount of cherry picking done within the 49ers within that system. I quickly want to just move on to the managerial situation. You'll have heard that Philippe Clement got sacked last night, and Barry Ferguson's just been appointed interim manager at the end of the season. See, when the 49ers were appointing Daniel Farke, from what I remember, I think the deal was done a wee bit late, wasn't it? It was done not into pre-season, but I think pre-season had just started before he was appointed. What was causing the delays on that deal? Are the 49ers quite fast in doing their business?
Well, to be fair, the thing that was delaying it was the takeover of Leeds. So they were in the process of doing the deal. So for weeks it became clear that Farke was going to be the new manager. And then he ended up taking over or being formally appointed on the first day of pre-season. But even then, the takeover deal hadn't actually fully gone through. So I was always like wondering, well, why didn't he start a week ago, or just a little bit earlier? If we were already at that stage where you could appoint him before the takeover was finalised. But obviously we don't know the ins and outs, so it's hard to criticise from the outside. But it did take a while. I don't think we can really blame them. But one thing again, like Parag Marat at the beginning of the summer, he came out and he made comments saying that things would be sorted very quickly. Something that was completely out of his control, and it was a bit of a naive thing to say, really. Just sort of put himself on the back foot straight away. But in the end, they got it done pretty much just in time. So. With the takeover situation happening in the background, I don't think you can probably blame them too much for that. I think they've been, the decisions that they've made as sole owners have all been really sensible. I mean, you were talking about Rangers trying to pick players from Austria and such. Mm-hmm. That's what Leeds were doing in the Premier League, and we filled the team with those types of players. Right. Players that might have been okay in a good team. Like if they'd have gone to Brighton, they might have just settled in and been okay, but all of them together at Leeds was a catastrophe. But since getting relegated and 49 has taken over, there's been pretty much none of that. They've been buying proven championship players, which is what we need. I mean, to be fair, Rangers, they might need something a bit different, really. Maybe that they will just continue to go down that path because, that's it's where the money is, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. Right, well, thank you for coming on. That was very informative. It was good to actually get talking to a Leeds fan about the clubs, and hopefully there's a potential fruitful partnership ahead. I hope it doesn't go any other way, and I hope that they're able to get the manager situation sorted at Rangers a bit better than what they managed at Leeds, because it was a wee bit of a nightmare.
You'll probably find in about 6 months' time, when Leeds are bottom of the Premier League, you might be after Parker.
No thanks. I can't watch another 4-2-3-1 system again. It was bad enough having Clement and Farker, but no, not that. We'll just need to wait and see what's ahead for Rangers. But it's interesting days. But Rocco, thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell folk where they can find you?
I do the Leeds That podcast, which is a weekly podcast about Leeds, updates on the weekly and the matches, and then the books that you mentioned. I've got 5 books that I've authored about Leeds, and I'm on Twitter at RockLUFC.
Nice one. Well, thanks for coming on, mate, and hopefully we can
thanks for having me.
Chat again soon. No problem.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. Right, everybody, please like and subscribe to this video. Head on over and check on Rocco Reach Podcast. It's at Leeds That on X. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Rangers Journal Podcast. I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning there. We finally got it sorted. We finally got to see the whole interview. That's finished. That's just a quick bit of business. This podcast is sponsored by Off to the Match I Go, and plenty of Rangers materials and Rangers content on it. If you just scan the QR code on the screen or go to offtothematchigo.co.uk. If you use the code Journal10, you'll get 10% off. So here tonight we're here to look at Rangers during the month of February, basically. First thing we're going to look at in the club is the takeover scenario. Stevie, I'll come to you first. How are you doing?
Good evening, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Aye, not bad at all. Jock, nice to see you, mate.
You too, mate. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So, Stevie, what's your kind of opinion on the takeover situation after watching that?
I mean, I was already excited. I was already really happy about the news. I thought it was a great interview with Rocco there. A lot of kind of good points. He really kind of broke it down. Obviously, what they've done with Leeds for the point when they came in, when obviously 5-6 years ago, when they were a distressed asset, like Rangers are right now. So they've got a track record. They've already been through this. Again, they've done this dance. The 49ers, they know exactly what they're doing. They've done it with Leeds. And to me, they've got to replicate it with Rangers. This isn't like an unknown I know with foreign investors, US investors, it doesn't always go great, but this isn't like an unknown. This is the San Francisco 49ers. They are worth over $7 billion. You know, they are expanding. They are making money everywhere they go. They're already doing it with Leeds. I know, like you were saying there about who's going to come first in the priority, but I don't view it like that. That Rangers and Leeds are in different markets. Leeds are obviously EPL, that's their main aim. Rangers are potentially Champions League, and that's how they're looking at it. Eventually, this European Super League is going to happen. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Get that easy route into the Champions League, potentially Super League. He's gone on about the deals with Adidas, Red Bull. I mean, this is like manna for heaven for us. You know what I mean? This is like what we've wanted for such a long time, like actual commercial deals that are going to benefit the club and grow us. Obviously, they're going to make money out of it. That's what it's all about. But it's great to hear. It really is, because we're in such a shambles on the pitch and everything that's gone on. It's such a boost to hear this. Obviously, it's still a long way to go, but we're definitely going in the right direction, I think.
Aye, definitely. Jock, coming to you on the takeover scenario, I don't know how much you got to see in the interview there, but Leeds are very much in a stable way now compared to what they were years and years ago. Me and Rocco spoke about that at great length during the interview. Where's your thoughts to take over just now? Have you got any apprehensions about it?
Yeah, I do. My apprehension is that, say it does go ahead and then it doesn't go the way it planned, and they come in and I think us as fans, I think we need to sort of be prepared for different strategies, different ideas. These are going to be forward-thinking ideas. Now, I know we tried that with I always never remember. It's Besgrove. Besgrove had these ideas, and some we liked, some was a complete and utter non-starter, but still how managed to make its way down the line. I do think it's something we're just going to have to accept if we want to try and move forward as a club, because that's where the money's at. We're so stuck. We're so stuck, and it's not just Rangers Football Club. I think the guys running the league are stuck in their ways as well. They take the first thing that comes at them and they snap Sky. Sky's got them tied up, where it's now getting to the point that this is no disrespect, but the Women's Football League is getting more money than Scottish Premier League is, and that says a lot about what Sky think of our league, and the fact that we've got one of the biggest derbies in the world that drew 1.1 or 1.3 million viewers last year, and we're still tied in this pitiful contract. I know I'm getting sidetracked, but that's where we need to be at that kind of table, and these guys can at least get us at the table for negotiations for these sort of things. And as your chap said there, that European Super League is something we want to be chatting the door on and trying to get access to, because it's where the money's going to come in, because you're not going to get it from winning the league unless you're guaranteed Champions League football, which them across the road have basically had. It's been guaranteed every year on year since we went down the divisions, and it's stocked their coffers to no end. My apprehension would be that if it didn't go well, how likely is it going to be that we can try and get the club back from somebody who's got money? Because those people haven't really came to the club now to help us out. Do you think they're going to come and try and buy the club off a super giant like the 49ers? I think that's where I'm a wee bit apprehensive about this. If it does go belly up, it could be years before we get the club back, at least within our scope, within our remit, as fans. But I mean, I'm thinking maybe too far ahead here, because I'm not even in the door yet. The deal's not even taken over. I do think we obviously want to hear more from these guys, and see if it does go ahead, what their plans are and what their vision is, because it's something we all need to sit down and at least get behind right at the start. The whole fan base, everybody needs to get behind us, because this could be a massive change for us in terms of how we approach players, how who we're going to be bringing in, the sort of players we're looking at, the value of players we're looking at should hopefully change as well. So it's going to be an exciting times ahead. Don't get me wrong, but that would be my main apprehensions. If it goes belly up, how do we get Rangers back in terms of a Rangers-minded person that's going to be running the club?
Can I just come back on that really quickly, Scott?
Of course you can, mate.
Thanks. Just, I mean, I get exactly what Joke's in there. But in my mind, these guys have looked at the Europa final they're on. That was less than 3 years ago. The Rangers have made a European final under, let's face it, no the greatest management of the club. If they're thinking if they can do that, and you look at all the coverage you got that season on BT, every night's a Rangers Thursday night's a Rangers night, it was incredible. It was the best nights. And they look at that thinking, wow, that's incredible. That we can sell, that we can, you can broadcast that in the States, and it's huge. And football in America is only going one way. It's only getting more popular. So the potential is huge. Obviously, if this goes, like you say, belly up, then I'll be absolutely devastated, but it's not going to happen. They're getting us and they're going to make us much better, so I'm quite confident.
Stevie, sticking with you, see the whole thing about it for me is for them to make money out of Rangers, they need to be Champions League football every year.
Yeah.
And for Rangers to be in the Champions League every year, we need to be winning the league every year. So it's a kind of it's a win-win in all scenarios, isn't it? Even if you don't put that much money into the club. I mean, you're looking at a potential list of transfer targets, and while I don't think our transfer targets for the summer, right, there'll be a certain level of player in it. There'll be a few hidden gems. There'll be players that you're plucking from the middle and anywhere. And while we can still do that, if the takeover gets through, I mean, you might have money in the bank to go and get like Lennon Miller and start buying the best players in the league. It can't go wrong, can it? Really?
I totally agree. I think it's a great point you've touched on. It's I really want to see us buying the best domestic players, because it's been far how many times have we spoke about it? We've really missed that. Going out there, when Walter was here, getting Kevin Thompson, Stephen Whittaker, these guys are doing really well in the league. Who know the league. That I'm looking forward to. So it's just it's almost like a dream. You know what I mean? Like I say, we're still miles off it right now. But the fact that this is happening, because let's face it, Rangers are flatlining right now. As a threat to Scottish football, we're only getting worse. And they're obviously where they are because, like Joke said, they've monopolised things for the last 10 or 12, 13 years, and they've built up that kind of fighting fund essentially, and they're able to dominate. So if we've got the proper backing to actually build a team longer term, and then we can kind of drag the momentum back on our side.
Joe, see how you were saying that you kind of had some apprehensions there. What's your kind of thoughts on, we're talking about commercially, what can Rangers do? I'm going to get pelters for bringing this up, but you need to look at renaming Ibrox. You need to look at if Red Bull are going to come in and having some sort of say. They've got Red Bull Salzburg, RB Leipzig. I think they thought about renaming Leeds, but Leeds fans didn't let it happen. What would your thoughts be on a potential Red Bull Rangers?
I mean, it's not the worst name going. I remember when there was talk of actually getting this name on Ibrox, and that was that turned your stomach. So it did, and there'd be folk turning in their graves if that, because you were thinking Sports Direct at Arena at Ibrox or some crap like that. I think it is something that these guys will probably look at. If I see something like Red Bull or something like that comes in and offers serious money, I think at this point we would be foolish to turn it down. Because think of the firepower that kind of money spent rightly gives you, and the reach it gets as well. Because Ibrox is iconic. It's iconic for us fans. It's iconic for the club. It's iconic around the world as well. And as Stevie says, that those Europa League Thursday nights are just it's what being Rangers fans is all about. So these guys know the market. They'll know what to do with us commercially, because our reach is that far. Because we are global, we are massive, and you only need to know our shirt sales. Your guy that was on Castor that I did an interview there, and he says that Rangers are globally massive and bigger than some Premier League clubs in terms of shirt sales. And I remember going away back to JJB days and that, where we were selling 500,000 tops a season, because that's how popular we are between here, Northern Ireland, the expats, America, England, US, or Australia, Thailand, wherever wherever you go, you're guaranteed to. If you ask somebody, there'll be a Rangers supporters club somewhere in a corner, somewhere in a pub, somewhere. Um, the sky's the limit. I think I'd love to see a big name come in, like Nike again, or somebody, or Adidas come in. I mean, those kits that we had under Nike and then back in the 90s and the early 2000s were fantastic. And then went on that sort of gradual decline, and you went to Diadora and then Umbro, and then you were down the divisions, and you were just struggling to get whatever you could at that point. I think these guys will have a strategy, and there'll probably already be people reaching out saying, look, what can we do here?
Steve, you get in, you want to follow on for that?
I totally agree. And kind of touching back on what you say, Scott, as well, it's like, our success is going to basically reflect their success. The better they do, the better we're going to do. And I totally agree, like Nike or Adidas would be amazing. And the total polar opposite of like Ashley, he had one aim in mind, that was to strip every single asset of the club. These guys aren't going to do that. They want to grow the brand, they want to grow the club. So yeah, it's really exciting. I don't know, Scott, what about you? I mean, I can't wait. I kind of want it done. You know what I mean? Just get it out of the line.
I know what you mean, mate. For me, it's because I watch Leeds. Like I've never hidden the fact that they're my English team, and I see I've been watching them sort of pre-Ridsdale era where they've been out under David O'Leary and spent 90 odd million quid. And then eventually they get relegated to Championship, and we bring in this guy called Massimo Cellino, and he was running Leeds at the same time Hearts had Romanov. And he was sacking managers left, right and centre. Leeds had like 10 gaffers in the one season though, and it just wasn't working out. Then I think it was the next guy at Baltimore was called Ramazzani, Andrea Ramazzani or something, Ramazzini. Got him promoted into the Premier League, and then eventually 49ers have come in. Leeds are pretty much stable in the park for playing decent football. They've got a good manager. When they didn't get promoted last season, the 49ers didn't shake on sacking Farker. They said Farker's their guy, and that's it. They didn't even need to come out in public and say it. They liked it to certain guys in the press, but that was it. For me, it's a stable move. It's a stable move for me.
Absolutely.
And in terms of who we've got in the boardroom just now, Stevie, I think it's night and day.
Night and day, aye.
I think the boardroom I think they're tired in terms of spending money. I think they've made poor decisions on and off the park.
It's like going for the bars. We're going for the bars to like Apple. Do you know what I mean? It really is. It's a huge jump.
Aye, I know. Jock, what's your current thoughts on the current board? See just now, what do you think would be the kind of legacy?
The legacy?
If there is one. It can be good, bad, and different.
It'll be a legacy of what if. What if Gerrard won 3 titles on the bounce? What if Gio won the Europa League? What if they backed Gerrard before he left, and they spent money and they did what Gerrard wanted? It'll be a case of what if. And that also goes in turn with the what if about that Sydney carry on that they tried to peddle. Another what if. Anytime this board seems to be doing something good or making some sort of leeway with the fans and getting fans back on side, there's another gaff round the corner comes along and they slip on another banana snail. They slip on it and they completely sold the club out or sold the fans out. The Ibrox renovation thing that this summer is another gaff. It's just, as Kyle says there, failure and decline. I think that is the legacy. He's hit it bang on there. It's failure and decline with moderate, if I'll say little to none success. 55 was the main part of this. I know it's the only thing that we as fans have got to talk about, is because we stopped them from getting 10 in a row. That'll be it. Everything else is just, as Kyle says, failure and decline. and it's just been a running theme now since this board's come in, really.
Stevie, what about you?
I've got an analogy about our current board. They remind me of an alcoholic. They're continually making bad decisions after bad decisions, and those bad decisions compound the previous decisions. Eventually, they've made a good decision and got rid of Clement. It's like they've went to an AA meeting. Eventually, it's like, right, we're going to go to a meeting, get rid of Clement. And then 2 days later, they've appointed Barry Ferguson, which to me is like taking up heroin or crystal meth. It's like, what he's doing here. I love Barry Ferguson as a player, but to me, he shouldn't be anywhere near the Rangers dugout. It's like they've appointed that guy as next player, which is fair enough. It's a popular choice in that sense. But he's had no success at lower league clubs in his time as a coach and a manager. There's a guy there already at the club, Kevin Thompson, who's also a great ex-player. He's had one season as a manager at Celtic Hearts and he won the league. To me, that was an absolute no-brainer. Give him the job for the rest of the season. I know everybody's like, the season's finished, it doesn't really matter. But we're still Rangers, we've still got the season, we've still got whatever 12 fun games, we're still in Europe. I would echo everything Jokes said there. It's like so many poor decisions that have just made things worse. And I think we're very lucky, with this 49ers thing coming out of nowhere, really. Because how many times have we heard, American interest, and it's nonsense. And then this came up, it was like, wow, this is actually real. So it really could be a turning point for the club. I mean, we'll have to hope so. But yeah, the less said about the board and their decisions. And I feel for it, like we were talking last week in the chat, the Kilmarnock game. Like, see this Rangers support, they're amazing. Like, the away support are absolutely incredible. It's like I'm watching that and I'm thinking, geez, these guys are absolutely tremendous. Like, they really deserve, better than what they've got for the loyalty and the support and the noise, the backing of the team. So, I mean, it's quite amazing when you consider the amount of bad times they've been through that they're still, doing it. So hats off to the fans.
I know, that's all fair comments, mate. It's all fair comments. Jock, I want to touch quickly upon Patrick Stewart. He came out before Clement got a bag and gave him another vote of confidence after the Queen's Park thing, and says it was backing him and it was still in Europe and blah blah blah. We get beat off a St Mirren and then Clement's gone. There's been an awful lot of inconsistencies off him, I would say, so far. What's your thoughts on what kind of job he's doing, and do you think he'll still be here if the takeover gets completed?
That's a good shout.
Has he been brought in to kind of to marry up and bridge a gap? Do you know what I mean?
Potentially, aye, because he's got experience in the Man United, and there's no bigger club than Man United. In terms of global scale, it's a powerhouse. So to get to have that sort of on your CV looks good. Maybe it's what's drawn the these 49ers, going to say 69, the 49ers, and but maybe he's going to be their man. Now, like you say, he came in and he's backed. I can understand why he did back Clement initially at the start. And then he came in and said about the review, this review that was going on, and then obviously that's led to this 49ers thing. And then he backed them again. But he did say the first time the results have to improve, and they didn't. And then I don't know if he said that in the second time round. I think he more leaned on the fact of why we're backing him. It's because of European results, and so he's basically pinned it all on that. It's his only reason he's here is because we're through the last 8 or last 16 in Europe. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a good achievement. Clement knows European football. We've seen that. We always seem to play differently on Thursdays, especially at Ibrox, and that's ultimately what kept him in the job. But then the next game, he's away. Literally, that was a Wednesday that came out, and then he's beat on it was a Saturday, wasn't it? Sunday. The Sunday he was beat. So
Saturday
within 3 days, that's that interview's worthless. You may as well just pull it off the website because it's irrelevant now because he's gone. So I can see what he's trying to do, but it's backfired big time, and to me it's like egg on the face kind of thing. He's trying to sort of galvanise the fans. He's trying to get everybody behind Clement in this interview, outline why, hoping folk would get on board with it, and it just didn't work at all, did it? And Clement did himself no favours, and the players didn't help themselves either. So, yeah, we are where we are now because of it.
Definitely not, mate. Definitely not. If you've just joined us, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to take part in the comments. This is brought to you by Off to the Match I Go. Scan the QR code, head on over to the website, use Journal 10 as your promo code, and you'll get 10% off any Rangers related stuff that you might want to buy. Stevie, where you at on Patrick Stewart?
I kind of similar. I mean, I've got a bit of sympathy for him because he's came into like the biggest shambolic mess, and it's like, where do I start with this? But obviously, right away, he's obviously got something to do with it. It was a huge part of the 49ers takeover. So maybe that was his remit. It's like, you have to come in and, really grease the wheels, get things moving for things to improve. And like you've said, Clement, like, he's tried to back him. And even obviously before Stewart came in, like Clement's post-match interviews, they were just, they were laughable. I mean, it was like, that's the guy who's working under him. And he's clearly lost the players or whatever. He's not getting a tune at them. I think it would have been in his mind straight away, like, get rid of this guy, but then he doesn't want to come into a new job and just get rid of the manager straight away, because that can then reflect badly on him, especially after the European performances. But I guess even that was kind of skewed. The fact that on the last match day, so many results went for us to finish in the top 8, quite incredible actually, but we still done it. So he's kind of been fighting a lot of fires at the one time, but it looks like he's kind of flip-flop. Somebody said that in the comments there, and that's accurate. He's kind of went this way, he's went that way. But at the same time, there's probably not a club like Rangers anywhere in the world. So for his perspective, it's like, right, what am I dealing with today? What's going to happen? He's obviously hoped things would improve with Clement, but they just got continually worse, and he's had to basically say cheerio to him. I get he's not really impressed, but would anybody have impressed in that role? Look where we're going now with the takeover, so I'd kind of give him a wee bit of a pass.
A pass, do you think he's going to stay if
No.
takeover does go through?
He'll probably stay for a wee while. I think the takeover will go through, remain in position for a few more months. You've got a hefty bonus and he'll be off. Because obviously when the 49ers come in, they're running the show. And that'll be, like I said, there might be a bit of a crossover for a couple of months perhaps. But no, he'll not be there long term, not at all.
Right, fair enough. Jock, see when the 49ers come in, do you think it's going to be a complete revamp of the club in terms of staff? Do you think they're going to come in, especially the boardroom, and it's going to be everybody out and a load of new guys in?
I hope so. But that's what we need, doesn't it? Because not just on the field, it's a shambles, but off the field, it's been a shambles for a couple of years now, if longer. So I feel clear out new people, new ideas, the whole lot of them. Because I don't think there's many there that could stand and say that under their time and their respective roles, anything's positives happened. And I don't imagine there'll be plenty of applicants coming looking for a job whenever these guys take over, because they'll be, they'll obviously see the upside of that. It's a fresh start, clean slate. They never know that they're doing the due diligence now. They might highlight people that might impress them, or they might give them an opportunity. I can't say I've no experience of this. I've never been, I've never seen this. Can't say I've never seen anything like this at Rangers in my lifetime. And I'm not a fan of any other club that's had this experience. So this is new to me, and I'd say it's probably new to a lot of the fans out there as well that they'll be experiencing this. So ideally, for me, I'd like to think there'd be sweeping changes from top to bottom. And obviously that will include the management structure, because obviously there is none at the moment. So you'd like to see whoever they appoint will have their ideas, and they'll back him to bring in, and they'll go after the people that he wants. So yeah, I'm fully expect wholesale changes across top to bottom.
That's fair enough. Steve, you got any closing thoughts on the kind of takeover in the boardroom, or before we go into European expectations?
It's just, yes, like I say, it's very, very exciting, very promising. To kind of reiterate what Jock said there, it's going to be a case of putting like a new infrastructure into the club. because it's been shambolic for too long, far too long. And we the fans deserve much better, particularly the lads who go home and away. They deserve to see that, because at the end of the day, if you're strong in the background, you're stronger on the pitch. It's far easier to grow the team, to improve when you've got that stability off the pitch. So yeah, a lot of kind of promise, a lot of excitement. It's going to take a lot of hard work. But the thing about football, you look at teams even down south, how quickly things can change when you get it right. You get the right manager, you get the right kind of structure in place. Football changes really quickly. I know it took Gerrard a couple of years, but it just clicks and then you're off. That's the great thing about football. It's like, laws of the universe. Everything that goes up must come down. Celtic will not be on top forever, and that's great, because they're like other social media, like, still taking a mix and this and that. But it's like they know this is great for. Oh, it's bad for them. It's great for Rangers. So yeah, it's really exciting times.
Yeah, fair enough. Quickly, just kind of touching upon Fenerbahce on Thursday with you, Stevie. How are you feeling about it?
Josie against Baz. I mean, away to Turkey, it's a really difficult game any time, especially with defence. I mean, I don't know. It's not a game. I mean, I usually love Thursday nights, but I don't know. They're going to have to really improve greatly. But I mean, I suppose this season Europe's been our kind of shining light. We have played, we've raised our game. Players seem to step up. I don't know if it's less pressure or whatever. But yeah, away in Turkey's a really difficult game. But you know what? It's a shot of nothing. As long as we stay in the tie for the second leg, that's the main thing. Just please, God, just no more mistakes for the goalkeeper. Defence, try and keep it tight for like the first 25-30 minutes. Don't concede, and try and grow into the game, and we can see, because we get back to Ibrox, even if we're a goal behind, I think anything's possible with our fans. So yeah, just fingers crossed we get almost a clean sheet on Thursday.
Jock, what about you? How are you feeling ahead of the match on Thursday?
Just as Stevie says there, it's Josie Mourinho versus Barry Ferguson. This is like, to me, this is still something like a football manager save, where you're 10, 15 years in the future, and it's coming up and you're reading scroller along the top. Like, it's nuts that this is the position we're in. But yeah, if we start the same way we started the last two games, it could be embarrassing. Because these guys have got quality, and and far outweigh the quality we have at the moment. So the tie could be done within the first half an hour if we keep going the way we're going, and that's not what we want. We want to do as much as we can and bring them back, as Stevie says, to Ibrox, because that's where we do our best work and have done in Europe for decades. So the fear is real. So we'll see what the starting lineup brings, and see if that maybe calms those nerves a wee bit. But we can stay tight and just concentrate. Our problem is our goals are never one mistake; it's 2, 3 mistakes, and before it, it's just somebody stick their toe through the ball and hoof it out instead of just trying to retain the ball. Just be sensible, be smart. So I'm hoping, because it's going to be a hell of an atmosphere in that place. It always is. Turkey's something, notorious. So it'll be interesting to see how the players react to it. European nights, I know folk are saying we need to drop left, right, and centre of these players, but you're going to want to stick in the boys who've got the most experience. That will mean starting with people that at the moment are in rotten form, but you're going to have to just stick with them and hope that they pull everybody else around them up the way.
Stevie, would you be feeling better if Clement was in charge going into Thursday?
No.
Because of how we've been playing in Europe? No?
No, I get your point. Aye, if I had a choice of going to this game, Clement or Ferguson, I guess I would go Clement. But no, he should have been going months ago. So I'm glad he's away. It's a really difficult tie, but need to back Baz. Hopefully, he's had 2 games, 1 win, 1 defeat. Maybe he's got to be better away from home, but you're not going to get a bigger test than Jose Mourinho away in Turkey. So, aye, it's going to be a lively game. Hopefully, keep all our players on the pitch, because I can see huge pressure on the referee as well. So, try and keep 11 men on there.
Right, definitely, mate. I think it's going to be a feisty one, so to speak. Jock, there's a question coming for Corey. He's asking how many players deserve to be here next season. Is there any standouts in your head? I'm not asking you to get through a full squad, but is there anybody you think, he needs to be here or whatever?
Eager man. Eager man. Probably Diamande. Dessers, don't shoot me. I'm struggling. Suitor, I'm struggling. I'm still reeling for the way we started the last two games, and as March, as a month, or sorry, February as a month's just been dire from too many of them. So I'm struggling. But some of those people are the ones that we probably need to sell to make money to bring folk in. If this doesn't go through, this 49ers doesn't go through, if they turn around and say no, it's not for us, we're going to need to sell again, man. We're going to need to sell, because he's our only asset at the moment that's worth anything. Money wise, like as I say, Butland's played his form and his value out the window, because he was at sort of this summer. He was one of our sort of main people we'd hope to be getting money for if somebody did come in. There's not much money to be offered for Butland now after this season, that's for sure.
No, definitely, mate. Definitely. Remember, guys, if you've just tuned in, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Please get involved in the comments. Stevie, what about you? Is there anybody, in terms of Corey's question, that you would keep that sticks out?
No, similar to what Jock just said, obviously, Egerman and Dio. Suitor probably, yeah. I was laughing at Curry's comment earlier saying there's only about 2 players he'd keep because the rest of them have got like the heart of a mouse. We could probably rattle off like half a dozen like that. Guys that you want to see the back of, like proper. Don't want him at Ibrox. Ridvan, he's made a chocolate, he's a decent player, but he's just not reliable. He's not a Rangers left back. Somebody just saying Tav, obviously his day is done. I'm not going to get into the Tav debate, but he's been a great player for us for a long time, but obviously he's got his critics. But there's a lot of upheaval coming, a lot of kind of turnover, I suspect. But I joke saying there that, if the takeover doesn't go through, mate, if the takeover doesn't go through, I'm emigrating to the moon. It's got to go through, it's just that's happening.
It'll be interesting to see. In terms of a rebuild, I don't know how much you actually need to do. I think there's a lot of dross in there. You need to move on, granted. Yeah. But see if you get a competent goalkeeper and 2 competent centre halves, a decent 6, and a striker.
It's the spine. The spine's what you're talking about.
You need to improve the spine, and you need Oscar Cortes fit. I mean, that's the guy we're spending $4.5 million on next season. You need him fit and firing. You need him on the form that he was on when he came in. Yeah. And then I think you've got a completely different outlook. While there's not many players I would keep, I think we need. You look at Katic. I was watching Katic against Man City all night, wearing the captain's armband, and he was behaving like Connor Goldson. He was telling everybody where to go, where he wanted them to be. It was outstanding. You know what I mean? It was absolutely brilliant.
You're talking about leaders, mate, and how long have we been saying we need more leaders, and that's exactly what Rangers are crying out for.
Aye. And I'm not saying Katic I'm not singling him out and saying to Rangers go and sign him, but what I'm saying is, you want a guy like that that's physical, can come in, knows the league. Fergie says it yesterday, the league's my bread and butter. It doesn't come across if he doesn't care about Europe, but he's like, I know Europe's good, but we need to be better. We need to be better in the league. And that's right, and to get that, you need a decent spine. I think the spine probably needs the biggest bit of work done. When Bill came in, Bill absolutely ruined us by getting rid of basically all the wingers. I think the only one with left back at one point was Matondo. It was absolutely mental. Jock, you get any thoughts on it?
Yeah, like you say, it's a spine. The core of the team's rotten, and it's just full of mistakes. And I think we need to get back to the basics. I think just the basics of stuff, just the simple things, because we couldn't even do that during the yesterday. a simple boys were playing the ball back to their centre half of the goalkeeper, and the guy was having to pick, control it halfway up his leg because it was a poor pass, and it put him under pressure. Where the guy passing the ball was not under pressure. It was just stupid stuff we were watching, and like you say, we lost a lot of creativity over the summer, and it wasn't really replaced, and that's reflecting in the way we're playing all season. As I said last week, I says we're a moments team, relying on somebody, having a good moment to create a goal. Yeah, athleticism, physicality. Yeah, we don't have pace. Rangers teams traditionally were able to be technical when they needed to be, but whenever they needed to put the foot in and be physical, they were that too. We were always good at that. And as Stevie highlighted earlier, we did that by going into the league and picking up other players for our teams in the league. We haven't done that for I don't know how long. Go and pinch somebody that's decent or can do a job, that can come in and just be a stopgap or be part of a squad. We don't have much of a squad. I know we've had a lot of injuries this season and that, but the overall quality is just isn't there. There's too many folk off the boil. I mean, if the whole team's off the boil, we're getting these daft results and these poor performances, and this is where the players are.
I know, mate. No. Stevie, there's been no sign of any youth boys recently. Finlay Curtis, I think, would have come in and made a difference, especially yesterday. I mean, seen a game and Hadji and Journey just on the working, they can't play together. It's as obvious as there's so many players off the boil. Jeff Day's terrible. He was shocking for his second goal again.
Yeah.
Hadji's not been great. Cherny's scored against Kelly on Wednesday night, but he's not looking the player that he was. Youth, I mean, are you expecting to see in under Fergie? Seems to be sticking with the tried and failed a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, tried and failed. That's it. I mean, I think we'd all like to see more guys like obviously Rice and Curtis and whatever, but I almost feel like right now is a bad time for them to come. I know you can say, there's nothing to lose, there's nothing to play for, so chuck them in. But then if things get worse, things turn really toxic, what's that going to do to their kind of outlook? You know what I mean? I know you can say, well, it's sink or swim, and this is Rangers, so get on with it. I was dropping my daughter off at hockey this morning. It's like a new class, new team. She's like, I didn't want to go in. I was like, get in, go. It's like sink or swim, you'll be fine, you'll have fun. Just push them. So maybe, I'm not saying like my kids like the same as play for Rangers, but you need to push them sometimes, so maybe give them a push. But at the end of the day, like some of the atmospheres and stuff, you get the frustration in the fans, so maybe it wouldn't be good for them. But at the same time, it's like, well, as you've said, there's so many like failures for the players that are already there. So yeah, I would put them in. But obviously it's a fine line. Barry still wants to get results. But as you say, it's like somebody put in the comments there that Ferguson's been duped by the same set of players, and it's like, aye, we'll see how it goes. 3 huge games coming up. The Fenerbahce, firm game was just enormous. So maybe not the time to play these players there, but have them ready because you probably need them.
Aye, definitely, mate, definitely. Jock, where you at on kind of Finlay Curtis and Bailey Rice? It's no a kind of good start for Fergie on that front, is it? They've not had any minutes, so that's only 2 matches ringing up.
No, he stuck with the senior players, and I think you seen that in the Kelly game. He went with the team that lost the game, and that was immediately right. Go out there and make up for what happened at the previous game. The first 20 minutes was a riot. Half an hour was a riot. And credit to him, he made the substitution in that, and he turned the game around. And it was the same core of players. It's the senior players. I think Fergie himself, I'll know because he was in that position himself before Avocat came in. He was in and around the Rangers team in that that 97 season, 97, 98. He was in and around there, but he was never really getting much. Dips and drabs, and so he'll know where their players are. Cause he wasn't far off that age then, until Avocat came in and then just stuck him straight in for the get go. I think he maybe needs to take a leaf out of his own book and do the same and try it. I said, what we got to lose? Maybe not the European game, but definitely Definitely the league games. Give them a chance. Let them prove themselves against the senior boys in the team that are letting the fans down, that are letting themselves down week in, week out, because that's what we're kind of expecting now. Half the time you're watching Rangers. Those guys like Finlay, get them on that side of the pitch. Give Cherney a rest, because Cherney's hopeless there at the weekend. We know what he can do, but everything he did was wrong, or he was just making the wrong decisions. If that's okay, hook him. He's only a lone player. It's not as if he's going to be here next season. Hook him now. He's scored. He's done what he can for the season and give our boys a chance. Daily Rice as well. I don't see what he's done in games personally that makes him. Clement hooked him at halftime in a previous game, and I think it was the wrong decision for me. And maybe that's rocked him a wee bit. We don't know. I would have no odds if it was me throwing them in and saying to them, look, go and show yourself what you're worth and try and take the shirt off this, a couple of these guys, because that's what it's all about at that age, especially at a club like this.
Yeah.
Unless you're going out on loan and you're plying your trade at a decent level against men, you're going to have to do it at the Rangers at any level, no matter how good you are. And it's something that we've been severely lacking over the years, is giving youth a proper chance. Bar McCausland, who's the only one that's really come in and managed to play himself into a new contract. Billy Rice and Curtis need to be doing that now to be able to give themselves a chance at that.
I think Rice is, like, physically, you look at him, he's a big lad. I think
perfect.
He's got it. He's got it. There's nothing stopping him. He looked at Old Trafford when he came on. He looked excellent. He's 100%. He's got the talent. Just hopefully makes it.
The thing is, Stevie, youth players play with no fear, and that's exactly what we need just now. We need players to come in and get a hold of this. And
the only thing I would say, I wish they still had the reserve football, because that kind of blend of like Premier League experienced first team players getting booted. That's a huge miss for me. We could do an entire pod on that. That's going to stop progression, I would suggest. But yeah, you're right in what you say there.
Exactly. It's just getting a bit of a pain now. Jock, there's a question that's come in for Graham Park Oil, and what's the deal with Fernandez? Can I get a sniff of playing a left back, right back, and a right centre back? Make it make sense. Where is this guy? He's a big boy. Do you know what
I mean? I pass. I don't know. Again, it's up to Barry come in and only had the 1 day's training session, so you can understand the Kilmarnock game. I don't know. Maybe he's just not maybe not seeing enough. The guy's on loan. Team's a mess. We're not playing for anything. Maybe he's just going through the motions, and he's just like, I'm only here because I'm forced to be here. Maybe he doesn't. He's no interest. It's like you say. He's tall. Looks perfect for the league, and the small glimpses we've seen of him, he hasn't done anything wrong. So, me as a fan, I'd like to see more of the guy, because we're playing Tav at centre back, starting at centre back, which that's alarm bells for me. If we've got somebody who come in who's tailor made for that position, that's their natural position when we're turning to Tav to play centre back. So pass. I don't know. Maybe has a guy got good English? Is it a language barrier thing? Is it something trivial like that? Honestly, I don't know.
God knows, mate. God knows. Right, Stevie, I'll let you go, mate. I think you need to head now, don't you?
You got the kids, mate. Aye, but thanks for having me. It's been great. Good to see you, Jock. Nice to meet you.
You too, mate.
We'll see you after.
See you later on, Stevie. Take care.
Bye.
I don't know where Doug's went, but I would imagine he'll be back in a minute. Jock, what did you think of the game yesterday?
As I said earlier, it was just even the basic passing amongst us at the back. A simple pass to feet. The pass was in the air, and the folk were having to control it high up, and it put them under pressure. Just the basic stuff was just awful. Again, first 15, 20 minutes, catalogue of errors. It's not one error that leads to a goal. It's 1, 2, 3. Then the goal goes in, and those that you've got 3 chances essentially. 2 chances to do something different than what we're doing, or just boot it out. No nonsense defending but we don't. We try to do some retaining the ball in the 6-yard box or try to be cute with it. It catches us out. Physicality as well. I think we were too soft. We were second to every ball. There was no hunger there. And it's a home game, and our home form has been decent. But I think that Queen's Park game's just rocked them, and now they're scared to play in front of the fans at Ibrox because they'll soon know about it. An away crowd's totally different for a home game. Always has been for a long time. There's bigger pressure playing at Ibrox because the crowd will soon get on your back if you're not doing it. That happened basically afterwards. This was 6 minutes they scored. So straight away, if you're not on it and you're not showing intent, the crowd let you know. And I think that's what's happening to these players at Ibrox. They're just wilting with the pressure.
Right, definitely. Doug, welcome, mate.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Excellent. I was getting a bit worried. I started up all my stuff and I suddenly realised everything I had was at zero battery. Headphones, mobile, everything all at once. I was like, crap. But we've got here in the end, so backup headphones, phone's plugged in, so good to go.
Well, we're just talking about kind of done a quick thing about the board, speaking about the takeover. And quickly spoke about Fenerbahce and the team. Can you take over for 2 seconds, mate, and nip up the stair?
Aye, no problem.
It'll be 2 minutes.
So how do you talk in there, Jock, about the mentality of the team? I think it's really been laid bare this season.
Yeah.
The importance of that, for me as well, the importance of the manager in that aspect of the game as well. I felt, the one thing that Gerrard got spot on was getting tied into the mentality of Rangers. And I feel like as well, given the position we were in at the time, obviously, we were on our way back up into the Premier League. We desperately wanted to get that title to stop the 10, get 55. And, that kind of scramble to the top, that was Gerrard's entire career, basically. And so I thought, he really tied in perfectly at that time. And then obviously just tied in with that idea of being a winner, because Gerrard was a winner. As much as he didn't manage to get that one Premier League trophy, he won everything else, and he had that kind of mentality that I think he really bred into the team, and you really saw it, particularly in Old Firm games. We were snarling, we had that edge.
Yeah.
You had things like Scotty Arfield. Even when we were losing, Scotty Arfield laughing in Scott Brown's face instead of being intimidated. That kind of thing. I really felt got put into the team, and I feel like I could see it slowly seep away after Gerrard left.
Yeah.
Gio, despite I think having aspects of it, Gio's just naturally a quieter guy and a bit more of a, I don't know, just a quieter kind of guy. And he has his moments. You would see him on the pitch getting pepped up, but I think you often see that people get more emotional on the touchline, whereas they're maybe not quite the same when they're away from the touchline. And I feel like maybe Gio might have been a bit like that. So over time, I felt like that edge kind of slowly disappeared. So it stayed there. We were able to, I think we had it obviously for the Euro run, and then it's kind of slowly swept away. And I don't think we've ever really got it back. And that for me has been one of the big things. And particularly under Clement, I say the last few games and both Barry's first 2 games, the team looks so devoid of confidence and just so flat and so lacking of all of that. And it's really sad to watch. And it's just I think it's going to be such an important cornerstone of the manager that we appoint. It needs to be someone that can breathe that fire into the team and pass that on, because I think a team is a reflection of their manager. Jose Mourinho teams are dirty and fighting. Will play practically before beautifully, everything for the win. Guardiola teams are all about the beautiful football and the silky skills and passing it. Arsenal teams have, or Arteta, Wenger teams again, also have a beautiful football, but kind of lack that edge. I think both Wenger and Arteta are kind of similar in that regard. Ferguson teams were about fast attacking, hitting football. All these teams are reflections of their managers. And so I think that's something we need to look for in a manager who when you look at his team, you can see that reflection, and that they breathe that in, and that'll be something I think that will help get us to where we want to be.
I think you're right. I think Gerard had people he can trust, and I think Gio had people he could trust as well. I don't think Clement had people he could trust, people he knew that he could rely on in games. And I think, like you say, that grittiness, that toughness that we had under Gerard was gradually and gradually built up. And you're right, particularly in Old Firm games, we never feared Old Firm games because we were going in, we were confident, and we had a good run. And even if we got beat, but it was close, it was tight, and we fought. We don't fight anymore, and I think that you start to see that when Gio came in, that thumping we got at Parkhead, and I remember McGregor laughing at Barisic because Barisic turned and passed the ball away from him when he wouldn't take him on. And it's right in camera view. McGregor's laughing at him. That attitude, it's slowly ebbed away, and I think that's why the win we got this season was so, came out of nowhere, so a character for us, because we actually played a decent, style of football that combated that, and we were up for the scraps and we were up for the fights. I think you need to be like that every game because nobody's going to give you that here in Scotland when Rangers come calling, particularly when you go to places like Aberdeen and Hibs and Tynecastle and that. Those players are going to be at you. They're going to fight you. They're going to make it scrappy. And Motherwell did that at the weekend, and we just wilt it. And we've wilt it all season with that. And it's sad to see because Tad's been here long enough, and he should know that, and he should be instilling that into all these players. And like I think you're right. Gerard was the one that built that up, and we had that no fear with him. We had that steeliness about us that sort of came from the European football and then started to seep into the league because that team that whenever he came in, battered and bruised by Celtic. Because how many 5-0 drubbings did we get off them? The record against us was phenomenal, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and these are difficult things to overcome, which is why I think the manager having those aspects is so important. He can be tactically astute and he can do all that stuff, but if he's not going to be able to instill that mentality or help for the players that do stay, help to heal any mentality bruises, if you like, that are there, then you will see that reoccur. I think we need to be conscious and careful. I think sometimes with the way some people do speak about the team, because I'm starting to see the same phrases coming up about quote unquote these players when they're talking about repeated failure. Now we've got a squad of just over 30, I think. At least 10, 11 of those players, this is their first season with the club. So, they're not repeat offenders. They've come into a culture and an environment where, they're trying to help us move to that step, but have not managed it. You've then got another probably about 6 or 7 or 8 who have only been here for 2 years. So, basically Beale signings. And so I think they've got a slight bit of leeway in that. Well, they came in during a manager that was here for minutes and was an utter shambles throughout his entire run because he kept switching team. He didn't even know what he was doing. So I think a large group of the players we actually have right now, they're not the quote unquote serial losers. That was kind of if you're going to use those phrases, I think that was more applicable to the ones that were before that because they'd been there for 3-4 years or so. And then obviously for those who want to put that moniker on Tavernier, then fair enough. I disagree with it, but if that's your opinion, he's obviously been here a long time, so you can say over a period of time he's failed to achieve what he should have done. But the majority of this squad, I think there are salvageable aspects there. I do think there's decent players there, but I just think they have no confidence. I don't know what happened there was that spark when Clement first came in that just the moment he got rid of all. And I don't know if it was just because the players themselves were maybe better in terms of maybe like, Lundstrom is better than the midfielders we have right now because he was more experienced and had more behind him and things like that. And so maybe that was why they were able to get themselves that little bit further. And so maybe we just do need a couple more of those better players. But he did seem to have that spark. They just never seemed to reappear this season. And so I kind of feel like Clement was lacking that mentality aspect. He couldn't get players up. He couldn't get them in the right headspace for games. So we kept going into these games and starting off slowly, starting off poorly. So he would then have to go through the players, and then they would get themselves up again. Because I think the players are capable. A lot of them, they've shown that they can perform. They've shown that they've got the mentality in individual games. So European games they get up for. They've gotten up for, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 of the Old Firm games under Clement. They look like they're in the right headspace. So they obviously can do it. So therefore, to me, the missing piece is, right, we're still a couple of players short. I think that much is obvious. But then the other missing piece is a manager that can spot that, figure out, right, what gets him going, what gets him up, and then instill that game after game after game after game, whether they're playing Real Madrid or St. Mirren, they should be in that similar. Not going to be exact. I don't expect them to be exactly as excited to play St. Mirren as they play Real Madrid, but they should be in the same headspace of this is a game to win, this is a game to attack and go at the best of our ability, and to grab by the horns and do what we do, because that's what we are, because we are Rangers. And I don't think we've had a manager that's really. Gio at times, he obviously got the mentality there for Europe. As I say, I don't know whether that was maybe still a little bit of the sheen of Gerrard there. Maybe I'm doing Gio a disservice. I don't know, but I'll give him the credit because he was the manager. So he obviously he kept the mentality going for a certain period of time. So it's a case of finding someone to do that. But maybe that's the most difficult thing to do. So what's this? He's going to get paid more in months. You cannot show you are. Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting one. I'll throw this to you guys actually. There's been various studies on how big a motivator money is to people, and they've as far as I'm aware, this I haven't looked at this in quite a while. So unless there's been any new research to debunk this, I don't know. But last time I looked into it, research showed that if you're in a job where you're like, say, a factory thing where you've got to get so many things done in an hour, or you're doing a non-creative computer role where you have to complete X many lines of code, or something that's kind of widgety, where you've got like a number of something to get done in a certain time, and you're just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again. In those types of jobs, money is meant to be a great incentive, because it gets you basically, because it's all about repetition and the ability to do that repetition with skill and speed and precision. Whereas when you're in a more creative role that requires more creative thinking, whether that's sort of designery type of things or art stuff, sports and things like that, apparently money is not as good an incentive, because it doesn't fire the same things in your head, and it's because, and also particularly for team orientated things as well, often it can be team related goals that actually help motivate you more. And when I watch football, I could believe that to be true, and that's obviously not going to be true for everyone. Some people out there, your Asu Akotus of the world, just want to make a crap ton of money and go home, and that's grand. You'll have players like that, and that's great. But I think if you look at great teams throughout the world, they are exactly that, great teams. They're players that fought for each other, that you could really see a bond between them, and that was what helped to get them through. And I think that should be a bigger thing at the end of the day, particularly for modern footballers, because they've been earning loads of money since they were teenagers. So it's not as if they've experienced being poorer and then gotten richer. Some of them will do, and I think you'll get different experiences for that. Maybe they'll appreciate that pay more. But for some of them, they've reasonably well paid since the day they got started getting paid. And so earning more money when you've already always had plenty of money, I don't see how that really pushes the envelope for you, really, because if you're rich enough to be super comfortable, earning extra doesn't really change anything. Whereas if you're if you're on an average pay and you're kind of slightly paycheck to paycheck, and then you get a bump that then makes you into that comfortable area, you notice the difference. Suddenly, you can afford to go out that extra night for a meal or go to the pub and do that extra kind of stuff. So I think that kind of stuff is interesting to delve into. It's maybe not something to delve into tonight in great detail, but I don't know. What do you think, Scotty?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think the whole, they're brought in to be Rangers players for a reason, because when we go and watch them, they're said to have a certain amount of ability, and they're supposed to have the mentality to be able to play for the club. Obviously, they're paid well off the park. The motivation for me needs to come for playing for Rangers and playing for trophies, because that's what the whole thing's all about. It's not about how much. Well, to us here sitting here, it wouldn't be about money. Let's be honest, it would be about all the reasons I've just said. But I don't really know, to be honest with you, Doug. I think it's more to do with having the ability and having the appetite to go to your work and perform.
Yeah.
And a lot of the lads we had in last season, the season before, your Ben Davies of the world, your John Lundstrom's, Borna Barisic, Kemar Roof, maybe not Kemar Roof, but with certain players that had been in the same job for too long.
He was just happy to be able to run.
Aye. There was certain, what I was trying to say is there was certain players there that were Glenn Kamara, prime example, get fed up at his work, completely fed up, devoid of all motivation. Ryan Kent was another one I think I could put in that bracket.
He's an interesting one, actually, because I was thinking in my head there of an example I wanted to bring out, and I think you actually just picked out the perfect opposite example in Kent, because I was going to say, I feel like a good example is Fashion Sakala. When Fashion Sakala signed for Rangers, they did an interview with him on an African TV show that I watched, and then they were talking about money, is that a motivator for you? And he basically just went, look, with the deal I've just signed with Rangers, even if I never play football again after I play for Rangers, I'll be set for life. So, and yet Fashion Sakala, I think, is a player that when you saw him play, he absolutely loved playing football. He was such a happy guy. He's one of those people that was infectiously happy and motivated. And I don't, he could have, and I think he could take, kind of like Dessers. Dessers takes a lot of abuse, but on the whole, remains pretty motivated. He's pretty chirpy and is always going for it. Sakala was like that. If you then flip that and compare that with Ryan Kent's currently not playing football because he's not signed with anyone, and he hasn't been for ages. He went through the entire January window without signing for someone. If you really love your football more than the money or anything else, you'd have signed for somebody because you'd want to have played football. You'd want to be playing football. Whereas Kent seems to be happy not playing football. And I think that's an interesting comparison. But I'll say hello to Ryan. You've been sitting there looking confused. It's like, what is this pish Doug's talking? How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm a bit late.
Oh, that's fine. I was a couple of minutes behind as well. We're talking about sort of motivation and how to motivate the players and what can we do, or what does a manager need to do to motivate the players and get them enjoying their football again. Any thoughts?
It's hard. I think when I was at an all-time low, to be honest with you, for them. I think what you were saying before about the Queen's Park game knocking the stuffing out of them, I think that's pretty accurate, to be honest with you. But motivation needs to come from within. Do you know, they've obviously got to a certain level in their football career, and most of these guys probably haven't got there by accident. It's this whole thing about hard work beats talent and talent doesn't work hard. So, I'm sure a lot of these guys will be able to tell you about players who they played with when they were younger who were far more talented but never made it because they weren't as motivated and as committed and wouldn't make the sacrifices that they made to get to the level they've got to. But the motivation in the park needs to come from the captain, needs to come from the senior players that are in there, needs to come from us as well as fans. And it's been difficult for us to give the players motivation and show them our love for them at this moment in time because it's hard for what they're delivering in the park.
I think that's probably why Ferguson honestly got the job, to be honest with you. I think they were looking for somebody that was a motivator, alongside the guys that he's been in. Obviously, Neil McCann scoring the winning goal that won us the league at Parkhead. You get, likes of Billy Dodds, who's played at, Champions League level for Rangers, scored a lot of goals for us, played in teams that won trebles and stuff. Griggsy, record European, appearance holder for us, all the way to Europa League final, 155 for us. So you struggle to get kind of more motivational names in the building. Whether motivational characters, we'll see. Jury's still out on that. But I think purely responsibly, you're a professional footballer and obviously a cracking wage, like you're saying. You're personally responsible for your own motivation. And if you're not getting motivated to go in the park and play for Rangers, you've got no right being in football, to be honest with you, because it's the greatest arena in the world.
Yeah, I think that's maybe something you could see in players who are maybe not motivated for, I don't know, like not motivated by the club or not motivated by the game, and are more maybe motivated by the cold, quote unquote, colder things like money. As they're maybe not going to give, you're not going to see the same passion from them. I kind of felt like Kamara was a little bit like that. I've had some players in the past that I think were always money merchants and literally just saw the club as a stepping stone to their next big payday. But I think you can't have both. Raskin's a player. I think obviously he came in and straight away was like, I'd love to play for Chelsea one day. But at the same time, I see passion from him when he's on the field. Not recently, but I have seen passion from him on the field. So I think he gets motivation, like you say, internally from playing the game, from playing in a great club and things like that. So we did get a comment there from Curry. He kind of hit the nail on the head when he says he uses the phrase arty-farty types. I'll just say the creative industry don't care about money because they have the passion, and I think that kind of fits in with what I was saying before in terms of that money motivator aspect. I think if you're in certain creative or passionate roles, then that's going to motivate you a bit more. Certain, like the medical field is kind of an interesting one in terms of football. Comparative to football, you can earn a lot of money in medicine, but then there's a lot of people that are in it for more altruistic reasons. It's not necessarily about the fact they can earn money; it's the fact that they can save lives, and that's obviously a huge thing to do. So,
can I come in just a wee second, mate?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're talking about the playing staff here and the motivation of money. I'll tell you a wee story about someone who still works at Ibrox, who will remain nameless because he's still in the building. Who's not part of the playing squad, he's not a part of the football department, but he's well known amongst the Rangers supporters. And he spoke to me one day about the lack of money that he was being paid at Ibrox to do his job, and basically had a full 5-minute blowout on me about what he was getting paid and how the guy who was doing the equivalent job across the city was getting paid double than what he was getting paid. Now, but this guy will be in Istanbul on Thursday night. This guy will be in there free of charge. He'll stay in a 5-star hotel. He'll travel with the players. It'll be basically one-on-one contact with them. And he was complaining about money. My answer to him on that day, he said that to me, he goes, you've no idea how lucky you are. See, if I was in a position there, I would do your job for nothing. I said, I'd be genuinely serious. You see, when I make my money and I chuck my job and I finish my career, I'll do your job for nothing. I'll write to Rangers and I'll do your job and I'll do it for free, just for the passion and the thanks for doing it. It's not even just in the playing squad, Doug. It's everywhere in the building.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting diving into things like that because I think often, I'm sure most of us have probably complained about money at some point or another. And I would be interested to see if he was threatened with losing that job. I'm trying to think of how the best to put it, but I wonder if it really, when it came down to it, would matter that much to him. Is he a Rangers fan himself?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I would be interested to see how much that would really matter to him if there was a kind of a push comes to shove kind of scenario. If he would really complain about it. I think everyone. It's fair enough if someone doing the same job as you is getting paid twice as much. I'd be upset by that as well. But I'm not in my job for money. Lord knows.
Can I take this another way, Doug?
Yeah.
So can I take this another way? Right? Doesn't matter how much you're getting paid. Would you want to be going to your work after what happens against Queen's Park? Would you not be dreading going into your work the next day and then dreading the next game after that result, having to play in front of these fans? What I think's happening here is that's not. I think it's a team. If you look at go back, whenever the success we had with Gerrard, that was a team.
Yep.
Boys, mates, you talked about Kamara there. Kamara's issue was that all his mates left. All his close buddies that he had there, Bassey, Defoe, those guys, they were so close. And you've seen it,
Yeah.
across Instagram, you've seen it in the Rangers TV stuff. They all left. And you could see it, as soon as he left, he just went down the way. Because he didn't think he'd just lost his mates, was basically it, I think. And then his form went out the window and he just never was able to play his way back into the team. Now, I don't see a team when I see these players. I don't see the same sort of camaraderie and the same sort of the bonds that Gerrard was able to build with these guys. Now, granted, it took 3 bloody years, and it took a lot of failure, but we got there, and that was a proper team, and they played for each other, and I think that carried across into Gio's, time at the club as well. He got the rub of the green with some of that as well, with the relationships and the friendships was there, and then it all got stripped out this season, and that's probably why you're seeing the upturn that we're seeing in terms of performances and stuff now. So when it comes to motivation, I don't think money motivates these kind of players anymore, because it doesn't matter to them, because they can ask for whatever the hell they want and someone's going to pay it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And unless these guys sign the contract, they're contractually obliged to be there. They don't have to put a performance in. They don't have to. It's up to them. Its onus is on them to come up and turn up and give 110%. And there's plenty of these guys are just not doing it because they're not getting motivated by the people around them, the coaching staff. And I think a big problem is the players aren't motivating each other. That is my biggest. You see, that is key. You can see that on the park. It's not. There's not the same sort of guys shouting and bawling at each other and getting at each other when somebody makes a mistake. Now, I thought Barry would get a bit of that, and you see that he's doing that in the touchline, but it's not. It's far too early to get anything from that.
Yeah, man, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Again, it's come back to that notion of, you've talked about the players motivating one another. So that's that's a team, working together to be greater than the sum of their parts. It's an interesting one about Kamara, actually thinking about that kind of idea about the fact that all his pals left, and so he sort of lost a bit of his verve. And also, that as a footballer, that's an occupational hazard because players move. And it's interesting when I kind of think about it, because if you compare, if I'm just sort of looking at Kamara's career, and he's never been anywhere for more than like a year or two, a couple of years. 3 years, I think, is the most. So he's at Arsenal for a couple of years, out on loan a bit, us for a couple of years. Went to Leeds. He was only there for the year. He went out to Rennes. He's already on loan somewhere else now, which I didn't realise.
I think he's Saudi.
Yes, it's Al Shabab he's playing for, which is in Riyadh. So I wonder if that's maybe that'll be something about his career. Maybe he won't have, say, the staying power of someone like a Tavernier is an extreme example because he's been here for a decade. But even just like a player that can stay for a couple of years. Because if you stay 3, 4, 5 years at a club, which is probably the max end for, I would say, most players in the modern game, before they move on, you're going to have players moving about, and so you have to have that ability to quickly bond with new people. And that's something I think as well, like you're saying, not seeing the players playing for each other. And the manager has to be adept at really quickly creating bonds between players or helping them. And I think that's something what Ryan, you touched on about the leadership team. I think that's a big part of where they'll play as well off the park, is making those, helping the team bond, having the new players come in and going, right, guys, this is the team, this is everybody, and getting them in and within the team as quick as possible so you can build those bonds, build the team, and move yourself forward. But just, I think Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think for me that was a big miss of the Clement era. I didn't really feel after that first bump. I don't know how much we got towards that kind of group. Team at the moment is full of Hadji, or full of moments players. Sorry, moment players like Hadji. Yeah, I think a bit of that is true. Although I don't necessarily think that's bad if you get enough players. I was talking about this the other day when with someone in the chat. Like, I think one of the things we've not done so well in terms of the moving players in and out, and I'll get your opinion on this, Scoy. Um, like I'm an outputs guy. I like to see players that have output because for me, goals win games and games win leagues. So you need your goals and your assists and your things like that to get somewhere, and that's been what part of our problem is that right now we've got a striker who scores plenty of goals, but maybe not some of the key ones. But then we don't get enough from behind, and we're not getting our defenders have like other than Tavernier and recently Proper, our defenders have like 0 goals. And the midfielders have got very little behind them. And I think some of the timing of letting go of players like Cholak, Sakala, I mean, Seema wasn't a choice, but these players that got numbers, they weren't necessarily super consistent. So obviously, Fashion Sakala is very Dessers-esque. He got a decent amount of numbers. So he got 12 goals and 8 assists his first season, 12 goals and 7 assists his second season. So if you take that as sort of 12 and 8, that would make him our fourth top scorer, and in the top 2 or 3 for assists this season. So decent numbers. And I think if we were able to get a few of these people that maybe are moments players, but do get numbers when you add up those moments over time. If you get enough of them into one team, you would get somewhere because these things add up. Like Hadji's frequency right now, he's got 7 assists, which is second in the squad, despite having missed the first third of the season. His frequency of assists is almost the same as in season 55 at the moment. So I think sometimes it feels like these players are moments players, but if you add it up over time, if you got enough of them, you would get to somewhere. The problem is, I don't think we've ever had enough of them at one time. We've got, we had Seema one season, but he's not here this season, so we've got Cherney instead. But if you had both, if you could just get both, what's your kind of thoughts on that sort of thing?
Well, if the biggest moments player I ever seen to pull on a Rangers jersey was Kyle Lafferty. Kyle Lafferty was, how do I put it? Talk about inconsistent, but you knew when it came to a split and when we were going to win a league, he was a guy that was going to stand up and go and get you numbers. He would also have Walter played him at left mid for quite a bit of his time at Rangers. There was various moments where I remember a game away at Hamilton, I think it was, and it's nothing each, it's about 70 odd minute, and Lafferty gets down the byline and digs a cross out, and whoever it is at the back post scores it. That's a moments player for me. You need your players to produce moments. I know where you're coming from, but you also need them to be playing as a team. And I would much rather have Rangers playing as a team just now than Cherney being able to buck his CV up a bit by scoring against Kilmarnock. You know what I mean? It's just to caveat your last point, and Doug, I think in terms of motivation, I don't think we can leave anything at Barry's door on these players not being motivated on Saturday. Saturday there was a nervousness, Fergie says it himself, after the game. He's walked into all this. He's walked into a squad that's low on quality and low on confidence. They're low in quite a lot of things. There is quality within the squad. At least at Diamande, we need more moments for Diamande. For me, he needs to influence the top end of the pitch a lot more. He's there. His level's above the rest of the team. But I think you need to look at likes of him on an individual basis and go, we need more on this side for you, more on that side. Or if it's a supply problem to Diamande, you need to figure out a way you can get bought him for him to do things. That's how you're going to get players influencing. There's a lot of players off the boil just now, like Hadji. I spoke about Hadji. I spoke about Jeff Day in a group chat last night at great length about how he's getting done left, right and centre for any time a team gets down the left hand side. I don't think it's a motivation thing with a squad. I think they're scared, and I think that's the worry for me, is that they're scared of going out and playing football. Clement's not here anymore. All that bad feeling, all that ill feeling's gone now. We've got last treble winning captain. Our last treble was in 2003. Like that's 22 years ago. Like that's sink in. Do you know what I mean? And we've got him in charge now, and if we can trust anybody, it's Ferguson to come in and instill standards again, because the standards at the club have dropped in recent years. You can see it when Ferguson's doing his post-match yesterday and he gets asked about Europe on Thursday and he's going, he didn't say he's not concerned about Europe, but he's like, he likes your bread and butter. I haven't heard a manager say that since Gerrard. I've heard absolutely nobody say that since Gerrard. I just want to let Ryan come in on what I've just said there, because I think he'll have a bit to say. I want to know.
My main concern is, where does this nervousness came from? You know, and why are they talking about it? Are they having a go at us as fans? Are we making them nervous because of the hostility that we're showing towards them because they're playing crap? So they need. I don't understand how professional footballers, Tav's out there in his 500th appearance for Rangers. You tell me he's nervous playing at Ibrox when he's played for us for 500 times. So I don't understand where this nervousness is coming from. Like, if you're nervous before a game, get a bloody something in you that calms you down. No. I'm not saying they should be taking Valiums or something like that, but there'll be certain things that will be all right for them to actually calm themselves down. But Jesus Christ, like, they need to find something within themselves to don't be there. Like, I mean, I played a charity game. I played 2 charity games at Ibrox, right? And when you first come out, you're looking at it going, Jesus Christ, right, this is Ibrox, all right, it's empty and stuff like that. But yes, you get nervous. But all of a sudden you start playing football. Most professional footballers will tell you, see, once you actually start playing, you don't actually always notice the crowd. Obviously, when the noise goes up and stuff like that, you do notice and you appreciate the atmosphere. But quite often, once you're in the game, you don't even notice the crowd. So I'm not accepting this whole nervousness thing as excuses and stuff like that. See if the senior players are nervous. Get the kids on. I'd rather lose with Baines in the park than with senior players in the park.
100%.
If they're nervous, give the kids an opportunity, because the kids will be nervous as well, so we've got nothing to lose.
Jock, what about you? Quickly, just before Doug comes back in, because I think you need to bounce off now, don't you, mate?
Aye. Yeah. Yeah, as Ryan says, you shouldn't be nervous. You're a professional footballer. I get you're in bad form and you need to play out of the bad form. And it's just something these guys can't seem to do. And if somebody of the stature of Barry Ferguson can't drill that out of you or instill the confidence in you, I mean, they should have been bouncing after the game on Wednesday with a comeback. That should have been any other team, any other manager says we need to use this as a springboard, and I don't know what them boys were thinking of or what they did with it, because they didn't bottle it up or keep it or play on it. They came out and they were timid, they were feared. Again, I keep calling back to it. 1, 2, 3, 4 errors, stupid goals conceded. And then that Motherwell's game was done after 20-25 minutes. 2-0, game over. They'll just sit back and just do what they know that we can't break down that low block. And just sit and wait, and that was the game plan for them. And I'm sure they were laughing at us. That's what annoyed me. That's what pissed me off. They were laughing at us. And when we were getting desperate and we were shoving and we were trying to put a bit of physicality onto us, the young boys in that Motherwell team were laughing at us, and we're laughing at our senior players. Now, I'm as a fan, that's annoying me. If I'm a player in that park, I'd be livid. I'd be wanting to smash somebody. Next chance I get, I'd be wanting to smash somebody, lift the crowd, and show that we've got a bit of fight. We have standards, and we want to. We're not going to go down without a fight, but we didn't show that. The team didn't show that. The players didn't show that, and it certainly didn't come across off from the bench that as well. It's just, I do think this team has an issue with Ibrox at the moment, and I think we're seeing it laid bare here. And we're maybe going to take a good European night to maybe try and swing it back round. I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll need to wait and see how we go on Thursday first, don't we?
Aye, that's it. Right, Jock, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, cheers, boys. Cheers for having me.
See you later, buddy.
See you after, folks.
Cheers, Doc.
Cheers.
Bye.
Dino, welcome, mate. You're getting an awful lot of Jack Butland agenda again tonight. How are you getting on?
Aye. I'm very well. How are you getting on, lads? You all right?
Aye, not bad at all.
better.
Not bad at all. Ryan, are you alright with controls and all that kind of stuff?
Should be, mate. Aye, it looks pretty straightforward. Aye, so
Right, Doug will be able to help you anyway if you need any help. Doug, have you got anything else you want to say? Because I'm going to bounce off now as well. And I'll let Ryan.
Well, if Ryan's got something he wants to go through, then let's crack on.
Right, lads, I'm going to head. Cheers.
okay, Sky. Cheers, mate.
Take it easy.
Cool. So I'll open up with a wee bit of trivia to start with, right? And everyone in the comments can fire this in, right? So try to keep things a wee bit lighter as well. Who was the first World Cup winner that Rangers ever signed? All right. You can put your names in the comments for that one. The first player to play for Rangers that had won a World Cup. All right. Stuff I always want to go through, guys, is what I'm calling the definition of madness when it comes to Barry Ferguson and playing exactly the same style, formation, and players that Clement was playing and expecting different outcomes. What would you expect? You know, I've been saying for quite a long time that I think we should be switching to a back three because of the amount of calamitous goals that we're using and making ourselves a bit hard to beat. That a back three that can become a back five quite easily. And it takes the vulnerabilities of Jeffy out of the defence. Well, obviously, we've seen his vulnerabilities yesterday. And we've spoken for quite a long time about, you know, Tavernier's so-called vulnerabilities when it comes to defending. I don't think it's always quite as bad as what we think it is. But it means that we might be protecting the goalkeeper that little bit better. Just want to know what your thoughts are on that.
I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I've thought about that extensively. And I think until we get better quality centre-halves, I think then and only then I think we should go to back three because, to be honest, I don't actually think... I know Leon is good, let's be honest, but he can't stay fit. So that kind of takes him out of the equation for me. John Stewart, I think, gets found out quite a lot. Fair enough, he's had a good season, but better season than most. So...
I think we've lost him now. Do you want to take over, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I understand him starting off with the same thing in the first couple of games because he's not had the time to tactically, I think, drill them and doing anything else. So I can understand why he's probably focused on the mentality first and thought, right, we'll work on building towards the team and the way he wants to play. He's talked about wanting to change that, and we'll maybe see bigger differences in the weeks to come because he's got a week now to work with him after this midweek game. So I can understand him not changing too much there. If you're coming in, you know, you don't want to give them. He talks about it himself, not wanting to give them too much information, and then maybe he did. So I can understand that, and I think from his post match, I think he's been surprised by the depth of problem there, maybe, and thought that he might have been able to get more of a bounce from them quickly, but he's maybe realised that there is multifaceted issues there. It's not just the mentality. There's obviously there are tactical issues there. One of the things I think in terms of like players being nervous or not playing to their best is not playing in their perfect positions. I'm generally one that I think a modern footballer should be able to play pretty much across the pitch, certainly within their area anyway. So a defender should be able to do a decent job across the fence. A midfielder should be able to do a decent job across the midfield. But they are obviously going to be at their best when they're in the positions they're most suited to play. And with our injuries, and particularly on the left side of the pitch, we're having to chop and change. So there's issues there for him to address. But I wouldn't look into that too much at the moment. I think we'll see the change of that over time. In terms of the back three, it's an interesting one. One of the things I've noticed on the lowdown, I didn't realise how many other teams played back threes. I think because I in general, I pay little attention to most of the other teams. So in my head, it's still in the 90s and everyone's playing 4-4-2. But I've noticed actually quite a few teams are a lot more tactically flexible than I thought and more tactically flexible than us, I have to say, or certainly under Clement. So I'm all for us just trying new things because we've been so rigidly stuck to this system that hasn't been working then I think we should be trying new things. Whether that's the three, like a 3-5-2, I'm fond of the 4-3-3 option, or the 4-1-2, or the 4-1-4-1 kind of thing, where you've just got one deep line midfielder, and we have like so Diamande getting pushed up, for example. I'm a fan of that, but to be honest, I'd just like to see us try something, because we've done the same thing, like you said, the definition of madness. We've been doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Do you have anything else, Dino?
Aye, sorry, I had the wee and wanting to come in and jump on the pod. No, so getting back to my point about the playing with the three at the back, I mean, you know, it's funny because I'm actually going to use two things here. Doug, you mentioned 90s 4-4-2. And during Walter's tenure and Advocaat's tenure, there was at times that they played back three, but we had quality centre halves like Dick. You know, Dick would play Perini, Amoruso, and Moore type thing. You know, or whoever it was. But the point I'm making is we don't have quality centre halves to be able to play three of them, in my opinion. And as I said, I think you'd only get one game here and there out of Balogun. So if you're going to be playing a three, you'd want the consistency there. So definitely something I think we should look to adapt to. And as I said, those managers, they change formation and stuff to suit opposition, things like that. Whereas you've both just alluded to the fact there that we don't change anything. So whoever's going to be coming in, a lot of the talk's been on, you know, having a style of football to play in Scotland, which is obviously needed, but you need the right personnel for that as well. But I want to see a manager who has a plan A, plan B, and plan C come in, depending on who we're playing, or if it's not going right, to actually change it, things like that. And I don't know if that's asking for too much, but what do you guys think?
Well, for me, we seem to have more options at centre half than anyone else on the park. Do you know, we've got Enciala, Proper, Suter, Balogun, Fernandes now, so we've actually got five to pick from there. And I think you could say Balogun for your bite. You want Balogun on for the European games. If you're playing with a striker with a bit of pace, I think you would want Balogun in there over Proper, certainly all day, because obviously we know the Proper's main weakness is he lacks it. The other thing is, well, quite a lot of teams play just one up front as well, so it kind of gives us more options. And as I say, I think you see Jeffrey's best work when he's going forward, and it kind of means that Tavernier can kind of push out wide as well. Or there's an option to even take Tavernier out of the team altogether as well. So there's options in there. If I always want to move on to next, guys, is three across the midfield. Now, we've got three. If we go basically in a 3-5-2, you can cut through our midfield like butter. And I think we've seen it far too often this season. You see Clement second goal the other night. It's just a mistake in the midfield, and it's right in the back of the net straight away. And again, it just means there's more options across the centre of the park. You know, does it give Diamande that licence? We're all asking for more out of Diamande. You know, we're not seeing enough of him. Are we going to see more out of him if he's got a bigger licence to play because he's one of three rather than one of two? So what would your thoughts be in going three across the middle of the park? And also bear in mind, our rivals across the city go three across the middle of the park as well, so we'll be matching them up man for man.
Three in midfield has been something that I've been calling out since for as long as I care to remember, and for obvious reasons. So we've got to look at it in a way that you know, any manager coming in can see that it's just not feasible, it's sustainable to continue to play two in the park, because a large percentage of the goals that we do concede is through a mistake, like you just said, Brian, in the middle of the park, and then the centre halves can't deal with whatever, do you know? So there's an old saying that's obviously very true, a bit cliche, but games are won and lost in the middle of the park. And if you're up against somebody that's a team that's got three and we've only got two, we're getting found out game after game. And especially when you've got Diamande isn't the most physical of players, and you're up against people in the middle of the park, the hammer throwers, for example, in our league, just gets bullied about. So that's, you know, do you know what I mean? So we don't have that steel in the middle of the park. Didn't have that, you know, bastard in the middle of the park, which I think we need. And it's no coincidence that them across the city had they had Brown and McGregor. Now they've got McGregor. He's that one. And on that, like what you'd said about the captaincy recently, Ryan, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but you made a very good point about Raskin when he was captain. What brought out in his game, going up to the referee, doing, in my opinion, the role of the captain in the centre of the park should be doing. And then it's taken away from him, and he's kind of went into a different player. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just using that as an example of what we need in the middle of the park. And if you've got him, you've got Diamandi, and you've got somebody else in the middle of the park, it's only going to benefit the team going forward and defensively, both sides of the coin.
You want to come on that, Doug?
Yeah, I think. I'm a fan of the 4-3-3. As I said before, I do think that it offers more flexibility. Because I think the thing with the 4-3-3 is it can also be a 4-5-1 as you move, depending on whether you're on the ball or off the ball. So again, like Dino said there, in terms of winning midfield battles, you can have players drop in to help to allow your core midfield three narrowing and still having the width so that you can then dominate the middle. It allows you to adjust when you're on the ball to have those players pushing higher so that you've got more attacking threat, and it allows you to spread the play out by having them really push out to the wings. I think that was something that Gio did quite well, and that he liked his wingers to really be wingers and push out. The problem we had there was we didn't have good enough wingers, I don't think, at the time. So we weren't getting good enough balls in, and we weren't winning enough headers, and we didn't have. Another thing we've missed is midfielders that make advanced runs into the box. I don't think we've had a midfielder that made regular, effective late runs into the box since Scotty Arfield, who would do that all the time and got a whole bunch of random goals by doing that, by just appearing as an extra man in the box. And you need those things. You need a core of all these things, I think, to get it to work. I think the midfield battle is the key battle now within football. And we're seeing even some of the teams that we characterise as being more rough and ready, they are starting to play, as I said before. I was surprised at how many teams are actually playing with more of a bit of a 3-5 formation. Even if they do switch to 4-4-2 off the ball, which a lot of teams do now as well. So again, it comes back, for me, it comes back to not necessarily die-hard picking we should play this formation or that formation, but we should have a team that's flexible enough to adjust to the game, and flexible enough to allow their positions and their skills and the formation adjust to the game that they're playing, because that you need to do that. Not every game is the same. You could play the same team twice in a row and you have completely different matches. So you need to be adaptive. And for me, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to a lot of rotation as well. Like, if you have three across the middle of the park, you could have Barron and Raskin in there as your ball winners. You could have Bajrami in there as your creative element of it. Hadji likes to get involved in the centre of the park as well. A lot of people say that Hadji's wasted out wide, particularly because of his lack of pace that we always keep talking about. So it just means that there is options in there, and I've not even spoken about things like Tom Lawrence, Bailey Rice, that guy's in the building as well. So it means that there's options and possibility of rotation. It means if somebody isn't on form, somebody is getting injured like they always do, there is options in there that you can just bring people like for like, that potentially a match winner sitting on the bench. Which brings me on to guys that do win the matches, which is the strikers. I think you see the best with Dessers when he's playing with a second striker. When he's not having to maybe do as many yards, he can more concentrate and stay between the goalposts and scoring the goals for us. Obviously, they've got Eagleman in there. You maybe look at Czerny playing off a striker. You maybe look at Bajrami playing off a striker as well. If you're playing a team you're not maybe expecting to be at the park as much as that. So, what would your thoughts be like possibly playing with a forward pair or two? Go you first, Dino.
Well, it's definitely another option, and I know it's different level and quality player, but when we brought Kamar Roof in and Gerrard, at times played, with Morelos and Ruth together was obviously very successful. And I know Ruth obviously had his injury problems and whatnot, but when we did do that, you know, they were on fire, weren't they? So I don't see why that can't be done. But again, in our league, I think you've got to have a good quality player that's able to get a good understanding with their partner as well. And I just don't know if we've got that, you know, level of player. You know, it's watching Danilo the other day. He should have hit that short and steady passing. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. And I just think, you know, there's obviously a lack of football and IQ there. So the point I'm making is Kemar Roof's a very intelligent player. And he, incredibly intelligent, played with Morelos. And you could see the intelligence in his plays. The point I'm trying to make, and I don't think we have that level of intelligence in the strikers that we've got to be able to play the two at the moment.
See, just before I come to you, Doug, do you know how would you rate Dino's time at Ibrox? For me, I think Dessers gets a lot of bad press. And the thing about Dessers, yes, you can see the guy's running his backside off for us, and he's giving us 110%. And then you get somebody like Danilo, who for whatever reason seems to get a free ride for me. Nobody's got a bad word to say about Danilo in my opinion, from what I've heard. But Dessers seems to get all the slack. But it's Dessers that's the one that's always available. So Dessers is the one that's scoring goals for us. So what's your thoughts on Danilo's time so far?
It's you know what, you're right. It's a contradiction because he costs more money than Dessers. Obviously, there's more selling value from him, but he actually did cost more money than Dessers. He's been available. You know, he's been injured more than he's been available, I think. So, and he's you know, you can see that there's a player in there, but you know, he does miss chances. And I think because Dessers is the one that's playing the majority of the games and missing clear-cut chances every game, I think that's why. But it's a catch-22 because then Danilo's not fit really to play those games. So, it's a hard one. But I don't think there's going to be many teams that are going to be looking to sign Danilo in the summer, put it that way.
I think definitely his injury record. Doug, your thoughts on a striking pair, and also your thoughts on Danilo as well, mate?
Yeah, so we could certainly do the striking pair. I think probably the best, certainly the players we have right now, the most effective way to do it would be with a supporting player, one up top with a supporting player. So, and that one would probably need to be Dessers, because I think he's the least. He's just a striker. He doesn't really do anything else. Whereas I think the other two can play elsewhere. And it's one of the reasons. One of the changes I kind of want to see. At the very least, in terms of formation, is changing from the 4-2, 3-1 to a 4-1-4-1, so that you've got two advanced midfielders, and then you can have one who can be more, a bit more solid and has a bit more defensive responsibilities, doesn't maybe move so much, and then one who's basically got freedom to move around the park and be creative and support the striker. Or to push out onto a wing while the winger comes in and support the striker. Either way, so you could do that. Say, for example, you had maybe Diomande and Barami playing, or Hadji playing as your advanced attacking mids, and then you had, say, Eggman on that left side. So Eggman could then move in towards the striking space to support Dessers from the left, and then you have the Hadji then would come out wide to support from the width, and providing the width there. So you could do something like that. In terms of what you're saying about like Danilo and Dessers suffers from the same problem that Tavernier does. He's always there, so therefore he's always there to make mistakes. And he's always there, so he's always there when we lose. And if he hasn't done something to help us win, therefore, then he's just lost. So he kind of suffers from that same problem. I agree with you. I think Dessers gets more grief than he deserves, and it's part of being the fact that he's the only striker we've had in the last 2 years who is always there. He's always fit. He's always available, and thusly he always plays. And if you do that, now he probably does miss more chances than he should. But at the same time, if he wasn't the only one with the burden, then it wouldn't matter so much because he'd have other players that could help chip in. He might miss a chance, but then Danilo would score the next one. He might miss a chance, but then Eggman would score the next one. But he kind of hasn't had that, especially last season. It was just him, and that was it. So if he missed a chance, there was no one else there to get the next one. It was just him. So, that's just unfortunately a side effect of him being available. There's also the fact that, let's just say, the rest of the team don't chip in. You said at the start there. Now we're going to talk about the game winners, the strikers. For the last decade, our right back's been the one that's been the game winner, because he's the one that scores half the goals. And if we go back, it's been we had Morelos for a period of time, who again was consistently available, and he scored a lot of goals. And then you had Tav, who did that, and when we were at our best and we won the league, we had Kent doing it, we had Hadji doing it. Aribo had a couple of goals in there. We had a couple of goals coming in from defenders as well. Goldson, I think, got about 8 or 9 goals that season as well. You had goals all over the place, supplementing these players. Right now, our top scorers are still, the players still contributing with the top ones are our striker, our right back, and then we've got a decent right winger now who's chucking in a few. And then after that, it starts to fall away. Hadji in terms of assists, but in terms of goals, again, it starts to fall away. And so you're left with all that pressure on him. And that would be another good reason to play 2 up front as well, because it would, again, on the field, take a little bit of that pressure off as well. But at the same time, you need to have the players that are available to do it. And that's been the biggest issue for Danilo. He's not been available. And I think people have given him a lot of leeway because of the types of injuries he's had as well, because he got injured on the pitch scoring a goal and getting a smash in the face, and that kept him out for ages, and then he had his mask, and so people gave him a bit of credit for that. And then again, he had his injury, which was on the field, so he's gotten a bit of a light go for that. So yeah, it's just been unfortunate, and credit to Dessers, like you said earlier, for always, despite the criticism he's gotten, only once or twice, I think, has the mask slipped a little and he's kind of shown his frustration. The majority of the time, he's always positive and always, doing what I think Rangers fans ask of the players, which is giving it his all.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. I think that all three of us are in agreement. This isn't working at the moment, and Barry's only can do so much. We spoke the other night about him stripping the captaincy off him, which, for whatever reason, he's decided not to do, which is going to be only probably known to him and the 4 walls of Ibrox. But it's pretty obvious that the system that they're playing just now isn't working. The current players can't play the system that we're doing just now. He needs to change it. When he changes it, it's difficult. Does he do it in Istanbul on Thursday night? For me, I don't think so. What would your thoughts be?
No, he's got to go as is. I was thinking about this actually earlier on today. Coming to Thursday, he just has to go as Clement would set up. I know, but Clement set up for us to be decent in Europe. So, and the players know how to play in Europe. Again, away to Fenerbahce, there's no, it's no Ibrox, so you never know. They might go and get a result. But it would be stupid to change anything at this moment in time in Europe. But then when it comes back to domestic duties, he's going to have to do something. I appreciate that he said in the presser he's only had 2 hours with him on the training pitch, and I know 2 hours. I mean, like, even if you've been involved in amateur football, you know that 2 hours is a very, very limited period of time to actually change anything. So obviously a bit more time this week playing Europe again. So I'd want him to change something for the weekend, but again, I probably only see it because obviously flying and things like that. So then maybe you're looking at the next week. I don't know, but and then it's just a shambles really, and we're actually mopping up the mess of the last 3 managers. Because Gio had his way playing, Bale had his way playing, and Clement had his way playing, and they, signed players to play in their systems that evidently have failed domestically. So, I mean, is there really any, like, I know Neil McCann was brought in, and I even, was in agreement to Neil McCann coming in and saying Neil McCann's going to be the brains of the operation, but, to change anything, you're going to need time, and they didn't have time. So, what do they do? What's the other option? You know what I mean? It's actually one of them where they're like, what even are they going to do if they've got, 3 weeks to straight 3 weeks like in pre-season to change something? Because muscle memory, they're engineered to play a certain way. I just think that there's very limited time for them to change anything.
Yep. Doug, just for a couple of you, mate, I'm going to bring a comment up that Jim Cunningham's made here. It's Butland who's the nightmare. So obviously talking about potential changes for Thursday night. The goal is probably the biggest call for me, to be honest with you. So far out of form, he's almost unrecognisable, to be honest with you. The first goal against Motherwell at the weekend there was ridiculous, to be honest with you. Very, very, very poor, by his high standards. And it's one of what's becoming a catalogue of errors that he's got. You can look back at the St Mirren game in Boxing Day when he's cleared the boy out from the long kick, and it's so many kind of uncharacteristic things that's happening. The punching the ball into the net against Man United. He just seems to be, really out of form, really out of character at the moment. Would you be happy to see him starting Thursday
night? Yes. Ultimately, because I think he's still a significantly better goalkeeper than Kelly is. Kelly's a decent goalie, but I mean, even in say for example, you mentioned obviously the error against Man United. That was what took all the focus. But he made about 3, 4, 5 really good saves in that match as well that kept us in it. And we do need. If we were going to drop him, I would drop him in a league game because I think it would be. I still think he's likely to overall be better on the European stage because I think he's got that extra level of quality that would come in for the 3 or 4 or 5 other saves that he'd need to make. But I mean, I wouldn't like go crazy if he had been dropped. You couldn't argue that it's deserved. Like you say, he's making a lot of mistakes. Goalkeepers are a really tough one because they're a specialist position. There's arguments back and forth as to whether it's better for them to play through or to drop a goalkeeper, because sometimes when you drop a goalkeeper, it can be worse for them. And I think we've seen that in the past as well with players like John McLaughlin. He came in, made a few really high-profile errors. He got dropped, and then we never seen from him again. Despite the fact that McGregor wasn't at his best either. So I think it's kind of a catch-22. You're putting in a worse goalkeeper that might not make a big mistake, but might still lose 2 or 3 goals anyway, just because he's not as good a goalkeeper. So yeah, I think I'd side probably just with keeping Butland in place because of the gap between the two. If they were closer in quality, then I would be more for it. But I think he's still significantly better to the point where I'd keep him.
Obviously, my opinion is, you wouldn't
for this game. Anyway.
Well, would you engineer any of the changes we just spoke about there? Potentially looking at a back 3 or the 4-1-4-1 that you spoke about, 4-3-3. Is this the time and the place, or if you don't do it, the risk is if you don't do it, we could go out of Europe. But the risk is you do it, and how do we play this?
I don't think. I wouldn't go to a back 3. I think that's too big of a change in terms of them getting drilled and having never done it before to go into a big match like that against a team of that quality. So I wouldn't do that. But they could make changes further up the field. Like I say, potentially switching the right now we play with the 2 deeper midfielders and 1 attacking mid. If we were to rotate that round and just have Raskin as the sitting and have 2 more advanced, you could do that. I think that would be easier to do. Maybe even go 4-3-3 because I don't think that again, I don't think that's a huge fundamental change because ultimately you're trying to just rein in your attacking mid, and your wingers and a striker can kind of stay as they are. So I would probably either, if we're going to change it, either go 4-3-3 or just rotate the midfield to make it a bit more offensive, and to be a bit more front foot, and then try and give them the confidence to then to play that way, because they do play confidently in Europe, and I'm genuinely really interested to see what happens in this game, because it would not surprise me if we come out and we're absolutely amazing, and we give Fenerbahce a really good game. It would just be totally on point for this bizarre team to do that after 3 completely turgid games, to go into a European match and do something really well. But yeah, if I was to change something, it would be further up the park. I think it would be safer to do that, especially as well the fact that we've got so many injuries in defence. So right now we don't even know who we're going to be playing in defence. Is he going to go with the Tavernier centre back again? Will he bring in Ball again? Will he bring in Suter? I mean, because he'll have those options to bring these guys in because they've been training, but they've obviously not been playing. So even them coming in is a risk. And that, I would probably say, it would be better to take the risk of maybe putting in Balogun and Suter out of the blue, and then put them into their what they know, which is their back four, and do that rather than switching up and have. Because if I'm Barry, I'm sitting there going, after those 2 performances, I'd feel like I have to bring them in, at least one of them, if not both of them, despite them having not played. And so I wouldn't want to also do that and say, oh, and by the way, you're playing a back 3 that you've never done for Rangers before. So yeah, that'd probably be what I would look to change. Bring in some better the fit again defenders, and then make changes further up.
Yep. Dino, just coming over to you, mate. Ferguson didn't make in his post-match interview from the game at the weekend that Suter would be available for this game. Do you chuck him in? Bearing in mind he hasn't played, obviously, his injury record, do you see it as a risk?
I think it's a risk worth taking. I would again, the formation. I would change the back 5. I would go Kelly, Sterling, Leon, Suter, Ridvan. That'd be my back 5, and I'd put Jeffrey left wing, Hadji in the 10. That's exactly what I would do. As I said, I don't think changing the formation, there's just not been enough time for me. But I would definitely change that at the back. Butland has to be dropped, simple as that. I think years gone by, goalkeepers get dropped because of poor form, which every manager that I think that I can recall has done that in time. It's a big decision to make, because goalkeepers usually one of the first names on the team sheet, but you're number 1, isn't it? And Butland, for me, is a massive liability. The defence are devoid of confidence as it is, because they're getting bullied left, right and centre. And Butland, I mean, it was embarrassing, that goal on Saturday. And I was sitting in the Copeland, I was right behind it. Do you know what I mean? And it was just embarrassing. So he needs dropped, and I think dropping him's going to could possibly have a beneficial effect in terms of him realising that he needs to, start again, restart himself, and come back into the team, the goalie that he was when he first signed. Liam Kelly's been there, done it, in my opinion. He's played well against Rangers over the years. He's definitely got the qualities to be in the sticks for us. And that's what I would go with. Liam Kelly's probably as well sitting there thinking, I can do better than that. Well, give him a chance to go out there and show that he can, in my opinion. So yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
Can I ask you a question?
Can I comment?
Yeah. Do you know, let's say if you drop Butland 20, do you bring him back in? Do you bring him back in at all, given how little games there are?
Nah.
If
Kelly's coming in and he's
if results don't improve, then what do we do then? Do you give him a chance?
Well, as I said, it's a risk, it's a gamble that you take, and every possibility is a hypothetical. So you go with changing it, because he is for the last year now, I think he's been he's been a liability for us, and it's clear as day to see. I mean, that save on Saturday, that's a save for somebody that's like totally devoid of confidence. And to be a goalkeeper, you need to be confident, and you're making a shambles save like that, you have to be dropped, in my opinion.
Aye, for me, he's going borderline Massimo Taibi from Man United. I don't know if you know who he is. You maybe be too young to remember him, but he's going borderline that way. It's just getting worse and worse. What you were saying about Ridvan there? I'll come to you, Doug, on this one. Ridvan starting would be an interesting one, obviously. Turkish international. We were well familiar with the hostile atmosphere in Turkey. Would you prefer to see Ridvan over Jeffy?
Yes, I'm a fan of Ridvan. I think he's a decent player. He's been, obviously, as with too many players, his Rangers career has been broken by injury, so he's never been able to get a real solid grip of the team. So I do think he's a player there, and if he was able to stay fit, him and Jeffy would be a great pairing to have as fullbacks. But yeah, I think I was saying in the group chat the other day, I think Jeffy suffered from being overplayed. One of the things we need to remember is that Jeffy, he's only 21. He's not played a lot of senior football in his career, and he's coming in and obviously playing week in, week out for us, European football in the high pressure environment and everything. So, he's had to take on a lot, and overall, I think he's done okay. I've been disappointed with his output. Early in the season, I thought he looked really, really bright. I was really excited, and he's kind of disappointed me in terms of how things have gone. I feel like it's not gone as well as it could have done. That's probably a side effect of the team as a whole. So he's not the perfect player. He's got he's obviously an attacking fullback. And that shows in the skill sets. He's got a lot of attacking skill sets that maybe are better than his defensive ones. But recently the defensive errors have been increasing, and so I think you maybe just take him out for a couple of games, just to give him a breather, let him reset, talk him through some of the errors he's made and how to improve them, things like that. He's kind of similar in terms of play style to a young Tavernier, in terms of how he likes to get forward and play. He's got nowhere near the output, but he's a similar kind of style of play, and I think we're seeing that with the people picking up the defensive errors. So yeah, I'd be happy to see Yilmaz play. I think he's not quite as rampaging as Jeffy, but he's shown in recent games, he's got a really good pass on him, and I think that's what could be really beneficial on the European front. That little bit of extra maybe guile from the passing that maybe Jeffy doesn't have. So yeah, I'd be happy seeing that change.
Yeah, I just want to come to a comment that Curry's made here that Yilmaz is one that's checked out. Now, we obviously spoke about mentality and motivation earlier on as well. That see if he has checked out, this is the day he checks back in, because if he does want to leave, it's fine. Nobody stays at Rangers forever. We understand that. But there's a great opportunity for him to put himself in the shop window on Thursday night. Because, Turkish football will be watching this game on Thursday night, as much as everyone else around Europe. So if he has a good game and he plays well, there's every possibility they might manufacture a move for him. And if it happened, I wish him well. If he stayed and he started to perform the way we know he can perform, fine. I'd be all right with that. Is there any concern? I'll come to you first on this. This will be the last time we speak about tonight. Have you any worries for the next 3 games? I've got a real serious concern. I think we could take 3 really bad scuppings over the next 3 games if we don't get our shit together, to be honest. Excuse my French on that. But we could see ourselves in for a right sore next couple of weeks, to be honest with you.
Remind me again, who's our next 3 games, Ryan?
We're Fenerbahce away, and then we're off for the weekend because we get kicked out of the Scottish Cup, obviously. And we'll then get the Fenerbahce home leg, and then the week after we're away to Parkhead.
Yeah, when you put it like that, that gives me the fear. Character, mentality, is going to be needed for those games. And we all thought against Kilmarnock that momentum was going to, give the players a bounce, the new manager's bounce type performance for playing Motherwell on Saturday, and it, and it obviously didn't. Same old. So, I think the fact that Jose's record in knockout European football is pretty good. So, other than the fact that we are totally out of form and are crap right now, that gives even the fair even more to then think we've got 2 games to, if we do get a scud in, then we go to Parkhead. Aye. I don't know.
I won't let you drag on too much more, mate. Sorry to ask you, Doug. Have you get your couch out from off the wall so you can get behind it?
I mean, that's the funny thing is that with this team, I'm not. I mean, yes, that could happen, absolutely, because they're playing poorly. But I feel like they'll play well in these 3 games. Maybe, well, I've more faith in them playing well in the European matches, certainly. As I say, Celtic games can really be up and down. Sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. But as I say, that would be just the absolute thing for this team to do. Would be to go away to Turkey, put in a real solid performance, come away with a 0-0, and then beat them 1-0 at home and get through, and then lose 4-0 to Celtic. That would be the or draw 2-2 or something ludicrous. That would be the kind of thing that they would do. They then go into I think it's Hibs after that. They then go into the Hibs game and lose 3-0. So that's exactly the type of thing this didn't do. So I just, like I said earlier, I don't really know whether I'm worried or not. I do think they will get up for the game. The first leg is the dangerous one because I think they could get caught out there. Fenerbahce, I mean, obviously are a good team. Mourinho is obviously an absolute world-class manager, with the Cobden that they've got there. So if they slip up, they could slip up badly. So if they come away from that with like a 3-0 defeat, then I mean the next game will be neither here nor there. So I think the first one is key. If we play well and get a decent result against Fenerbahce away, I think they'll do okay in the next 2 games. They might not win them, and we might still end up out of Europe in another Old Firm loss, but they'll probably play okay at least, because that's the weird team that we've got right now.
Sure. Well, you're ready to wrap up, guys. I think 95% of me would obviously be delighted if we get a couple of results in the next few weeks, but 5% of me will still be a wee bit annoyed for the water that's went under the bridge as well. So listen, guys, thanks for your participation. Thanks for everyone that's spoke in the comments as well, written in the comments for us. If you haven't subscribed, we are on almost every single night. So if you could hit the like and subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your like-minded Rangers supporters about us. We'd appreciate it. We're also sponsored by Off to the Match I Go, which will bring you various parts of Rangers memorabilia. The QR code is on the screen there. So if you fancy treating yourself, you've got a birthday coming up for somebody, you can get 10% off by using the code Journal10 when you log on to the website there. To all the travelling fans going out to Istanbul this week, hope you enjoy yourselves. Please look after each other. Take care with all your travels, and nothing left to say apart from I think every night is a Rangers Journal night. Cheers, guys.